The Radiance of Pokémon wisdom. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 476, Tricking Machili. As the sun sets, the golden sunset illuminates a large area of the sky, and the reflection in the water is even more dreamy and charming. A private cruise ship drifts quietly on the river. Zahu lies on the deck, living a leisurely life, as if he is retired. After Zahu obtained the cobblestone badge from the curtain gym, Zyozzy also fought and successfully obtained the gym badge. Of course, Zyozzy is not as cruel as Zahu. He sent out 3 of them, Blaze, Muk, and Pikachu, to win, and it was very difficult to win. Lee, who was almost doubted by Zahu, affirmed his strength. It's not that I'm bad, but that the opponent is too outrageous. After that, Zahu said goodbye to Lacey and embarked on a journey to Lizzie Lake. Coincidentally, at this time, Yingxiang from Johto sent news that the funds were fully prepared and the 4th Kehu amusement park could be opened in the Sinnoh region. Then, Zahu naturally took their boat. After all, if you don't use the things of your own company, wouldn't that be stupid? The slanting light is gentle and leisurely. It was quiet all around, except for the occasional sound of underwater Pokémon jumping out of the water. There was almost no other sound, which made Zahu feel poetic. Brother, how far is Lizzie Lake? Zyozzy said on the side. Don't ask me such simple questions. Just look at the navigation, or ask Yingxiang. If that doesn't work, Meow will do. Zahu said lazily. He has been traveling for so long, and he is self-reliant. Because I'm more curious about the lake god in Lizzie Lake, Anew. I heard from Sister Yingxiang that the opening ceremony of Kehu amusement park this time will use Phantom to create Anew. Zyozzy said. Yes, although Anew, Imrido, and Yuxi are not very powerful, they are legendary. Especially in Sinnoh, there is a big market. If it is used in the opening ceremony, we don't have to worry about business in the short term. Zahu said. But don't you need prototype materials to make Phantom Pokémon? None of us have seen it. How to do it? Zyozzy still asked curiously. Don't worry about that. Dr. Yamanish's research institute has information about Anew. Based on that information, it's no problem to create a data Phantom Pokémon without emotions. Zahu said. Then I can see it too. Zyozzy said happily. Of course, but if it's you, don't be so ambitious. There are 2 main uses for Phantom Pokémon. The first is to allow children who have loved Pokémon since childhood to get close to Pokémon without worrying about being attacked, so that parents can rest assured. The second is to satisfy some people who want to see the mythical beasts, but have no hope of seeing them in this life. And you are obviously neither of them. You can set your goal to see the 3 real mythical beasts. Zahu said. But I heard from Zyazguang that they are legendary mythical beasts, which are very rare. Only those who are destined to see them can see them. Zyozzy said. Hearing Zyozzy's words, Zahu couldn't sit still. He stood up and stared at Zyozzy. If others said this, it would be reasonable. But if you said it, who gave you the shamelessness? It's very rare. You have seen all the rare beasts, and the Pikachu on your shoulder has ridden countless beasts. Now you tell me that it is difficult to see 3 Anews. Are you kidding me? Zyozzy felt uncomfortable when Zahu looked at him. He felt a strong sense of disgust, ridicule, and disdain from his eyes. Finally, he said timidly, Brother, I will go in first and train the swimming air weasel in the training room. Go ahead, don't ruin the swimming air weasel. Zahu said. Not long after leaving the Vale City, Zyozzy and Zyazguang exchanged the long-tailed monster hand and the swimming air weasel, and soon after the exchange, the long-tailed monster hand evolved into a double-tailed monster hand. Zyozzy nodded repeatedly, fled into the training room of the cabin, as if he was escaping, and began to train the swimming air weasel. After Zyozzy left, Zahu lay down again, ready to enjoy his retirement time, and suddenly heard the sound of riding the wind and waves. He was surprised and didn't know which large water Pokémon it was. Looking up, he saw a man in a cape standing on a Gyarados on the water, riding the waves and the wind. Although it only flashed before his eyes, Zahu's amazing eyesight still made him see his face clearly in an instant. It was because he saw his face clearly that Zahu's expression suddenly became happy. Oh, isn't this our handsome and powerful Hone champion Master Mikali? Thinking of the instructions of the Darkranli branch president, Zahu silently took out the video recorder, prepared to record, and then released Lugia, and whispered a few words in Lugia's ear. Lugia immediately understood, showing a smirk, and quickly flew into the sky. Then, when it was clear, a large cloud began to gather above Mikali's head. Mikali, who was enjoying the pleasure of riding the wind and waves, felt something was wrong when the dark clouds began to gather. He patted Gyarados' head and planned to leave, but it was still too late. Raindrops the size of soybeans suddenly fell, rolling down, as if a hole had opened in the sky, and Mikali was caught off guard, and became a drowned chicken. Then a large piece of purple light gathered in the dark sky, with lightning and thunder, as if God was angry. Then, a strong wind blew, and one wave was higher than another. The water was turbulent, and even a strong Gyarados like Mikali could not move in such a huge wave. Mikali was even more embarrassed on Gyarados, and even the hat on his head was blown away. The only thing worth praising was that in such bad weather, his hairstyle was not messy at all. There is a thing called temperament. A beggar wearing a dragon robe does not look like a prince, and conversely, even if a prince wears a beggar's outfit, he will not be the same as an ordinary beggar. Just like Mikali now, he is soaked and embarrassed like a beggar. He is also an aristocrat among beggars. Zahu smiled and saved the video in his hand, ready to send it to the Darkland branch president at some point, and then made a gesture to Lugia in the sky. Lugia quickly understood and stopped flapping its wings, allowing the weather to return to normal. Mikali, who had escaped death, fell on Gyarados. Even with his personality, he was also grateful after having survived the heavy rain just now. At this time, a cruise ship was coming towards him. Mikali showed a sincere smile on his face, thinking about getting on the ship first and changing clothes. Just as he was about to speak, a voice that seemed to be holding back laughter suddenly sounded on the cruise ship. Are you wet? Distinguished guests, please get on board. Thank you. Mikali was about to say thank you, but he was only halfway through his words when he suddenly recalled that the voice sounded a little familiar. Moreover, this was not the first time he had come to this river, and he had never encountered such a big wave as today. At the same time, is it scientific for a river to have such a big wave? Mikali instantly realized that someone was tricking him, and there was only one person who could change the weather so easily, and was very idle. At that moment, Mikali gritted his teeth and said, Zahu. Chapter 477 HAOI's phone call. If you still feel uncomfortable, I will beat you up again. There is no point in looking at me like this. In the 7-star restaurant next to Lishi Lake, Zahu ate a sweet and delicious small cake and looked casually at Mikali, who was still gritting his teeth across from him. Okay, let's go out and come back. Mikali said. Okay, after I finish my meal, I will let you do whatever you want with my 180-pound body. Zahu said. Can you stop saying things so disgustingly? Mikali said. That's because your heart is not pure. Zahu said. Then tell me, knowing that I will retaliate against you later, why did you still mess with me? Just to be retaliated by me? Mikali said. Being retaliated by you is a small matter, but completing the task of President Declanley is a big matter. I have just sent the video of you being soaked to the skin to President Declanley. President Declanley is very happy and highly praised me, thinking that I'm the best champion he has ever coached. Zahu said. You have no opinion. Mikali said. President Declanley also told me to take you back to Hone directly. I wanted to consider it. With your current attitude, do you want me to do such an inhumane thing? Zahu said. Even if you take me back, I won't cooperate. Mikali said. It doesn't matter. Anyway, if something happens, you won't stand by and watch me die. Zahu said. Ahem. Mikali coughed a few times, and Zuzhan chose to compromise. Let's talk about something else. Don't hit me. I'm looking forward to you hitting me. Zahu said. Can you talk nicely? Mikali said. Okay, talk nicely. In fact, my sincerity is also very sufficient. After all, without you, I can't escape from the sea of suffering. For example, I don't plan to participate in this Macaulay Cup. I will give the Macaulay Cup to those who need it. Zahu said. Do you still think this is in the Orange Islands and Johto? Your gorgeous performance level may not be able to pass a round of review, let alone what happens afterwards. Macaulay said. What if I want to super evolved Articuno as a round of review performance? Zahu said. Super evolved Articuno? Macaulay's expression darkened. The gorgeous performance is to show the charm of Pokémon, and at the same time, use the amazement of the crowd. As for the super evolved Articuno, just from the gorgeous beauty, it is estimated that the 3 permanent judges and the audience will be boiling. If Macaulay vetoes it at that time, it will be against public opinion. And after Zahu, this beast, has passed 1 round, who can withstand Zahu's main Pokémon for 5 minutes in the next gorgeous duel? Nothing happened in the afternoon, we are still good friends. Macaulay forced a smile and said. Okay, nice meeting. How is your life recently? Is it happy? Zahu showed a wicked smile on his face. Before meeting you, it was very happy. Macaulay said. I don't want to be friends anymore. Zahu said. I didn't want to be friends for a long time. Macaulay said. Okay, I will contact Dago again, and find a way to send you back. Zahu said. We can still talk about the previous problem. Macaulay said. Kona, who was next to Zahu, looked at Zahu and Macaulay who were not in tune, with a subtle expression on his face. He had not thought of it before, but now that he had calculated it, he found that Dago, Zahu, and Macaulay, the 3 generations of Hone champions, were now in Sinnoh. Those who didn't know would think that these 3 were the champions of Sinnoh. Well, I have to open an amusement park now, and I don't have time to participate in the gorgeous competition. Zahu said. Macaulay glanced at Zahu, but he was full of disbelief. Who knows if you will perform as the champion of the Macaulay Cup, and serve as the opening ceremony. By the way, when are you going to go back to Hone? When you were the king, you spent half of the year in Hone. After becoming the champion, how come you don't even spend half of the year? Zahu said. That's because I didn't bother you so much before. However, after the Macaulay Cup is over, I also plan to go back. After all, I have been out for too long, and I miss home a little. Macaulay said. It's better to go back, so as not to encounter too many things here. Sinnoh will not be too peaceful during this period. Zahu said. You mean the Galaxy team? Macaulay said. Of course, I don't know if it's the Mormy who's unlucky. We obviously have nothing to do with each other, but we bump into each other, and I've captured all 3 of Team Galaxy's senior officers. Zahu said. So wherever you go, the underground organizations in that area will be unlucky. In Kanto, Team Rocket has been living like a rat for a long time, because of the information you exposed. Not to mention Hone, Team Aqua and Team Magna have all been disbanded, and some of their elites have been recruited by you. Now that you're in Sinnoh, Team Galaxy is probably going to collapse. Macaulay said. Don't give me this halo casually. In fact, it has nothing to do with me. However, I'm really curious about what Team Galaxy wants to do. During this period, I took Zyozzy and the others with me, because I was afraid that they would attack Zyozzy and the others, but nothing happened along the way. Zahu said. Maybe they are afraid of you. Macaulay said. If you say you're afraid, I believe you. If you say you're afraid, a group of people who want to recreate the world will be afraid of me? I'm really not that awesome. Zahu said. Then maybe the target is not Zyozzy and the others, but the rest of your close ones. Macaulay said. Besides Zyozzy, the only ones who can threaten me are my mother and teacher. But you know, it's not easy to catch my teacher, Professor Oak. As for my mother, I hope they will die. Zahu said. Mewtwo is right beside his mother. If one of them goes, one will die. If a group of them go, maybe the whole family will die. I don't know about that, but it's just a matter of fighting against the enemy and covering the water with earth. Macaulay said. That's right. Just go with the flow. I don't want to provoke them, but if they come, I don't mind. Zahu said. The first time is new, the second time is familiar. Killing a Flattery and adding a red sun, it doesn't seem to be a big deal. Then I hope they will come to provoke you, so that there will be one less underground organization in Sinnoh, and I will feel more relaxed when I come here in the future. Macaulay said. Whether you feel relaxed or not has little to do with the galaxy team or the like. Isn't the key point that you have too many fangirls? Zahu said. So, during this period of time, I plan to live near you and cover for me. Michili said. That's no problem, but let me make it clear first. There are 2 of your little fans and 1 little fanboy in my team. Zahu said. It's okay. 3 is always better than 1, and there are Zyraksha and Kachiro. We know them all. They won't go crazy. Michili said. After dinner, Zahu and his friends went back to their rooms. When Zahu took a shower and was about to go to bed, a phone call suddenly came. Zahu saw Haoi on the call notification and couldn't help but smile. He answered the phone and said, "Boy, what's the matter? How come you have time to come to see the master? Isn't Mr. Michili going to hold a gorgeous competition in the Lizzie Lake in the Sinnoh region?" So Mr. Adam suggested that I come to Sinnoh to try and feel the different atmosphere of the gorgeous competition. Then I knew that you, the master, are also in the Sinnoh region, so I asked. "Heyo," I said. "You little brat, you're here too. It just so happens that your master is near Lizzie Lake right now, and you can find me here. It just so happens that I'm going to open a new Kahoo amusement park at Lizzie Lake, and it's just right for you to come here and participate in the opening show, and let me see your progress in gorgeous performances during this period." Zahu said. "I won't let my master down." Heyo promised solemnly. "Okay, I'll wait for you. I'll hang up first." Zahu said. "No problem. And master, I may not be the only one going. Zyroeo also plans to come to Sinnoh to challenge the Mikali Cup. I may take a boat with her." Heyo said. "When did you and Zyroeo become familiar with each other?" Zahu said. "Because we both challenged the gorgeous competition in Johto, we met more and became more familiar with each other." Heyo said. "Okay, I'll wait for you to come, and then I'll pick you up." Zahu said. Chapter 478, The Mikali Cup opens. Lizzie Lake Pier. Zahu and his group stood there waiting eagerly. Suddenly, a hunting butterfly and a Tanabata bluebird flew over. As soon as the hunting butterfly arrived, it became very close to Zyozzy, Zyadagang, and Zyraksha, while Tanabata bluebird became very close to Zahu and Kona. "You have evolved too." Zahu smiled and stroked Tanabata bluebird's head. It was so close to him, needless to say, it must have evolved from Haoi's bluebird. It was captured together with Steelix. At that time, it was just a little kid who was bullied by a group of armored birds and couldn't raise his head. Unexpectedly, it has evolved into Tanabata bluebird now. Tanabata bluebird nodded excitedly, flew into the sky, and sang beautiful music softly, showing Zahu its growth. Zahu nodded gently to show his approval, and searched the water. Since Tanabata bluebird and the hunting butterfly have come, Haoi and Zyroeo must not be far away. Sure enough, after searching for a while, they saw Zyroeo and Haoi waving excitedly at Zahu, and others on a boat on the water ahead. The boat arrived soon, and Zyroeo and Haoi excitedly chatted with Zahu and his group, talking about what happened recently. "By the way, there is a new partner to introduce." Zyroeo was talking, and suddenly remembered something, walked to the lawn, took out the Pokeball, and threw it into the air. A red light flashed, and a cute ice elf appeared on the grass, lowering its head playfully, looking infinitely shy. "Ice elf, you made Eevee evolve." Zyraksha was surprised. "Yes, since I'm in Sinnoh, I want to complete a lot of things I have always wanted to do." Zyroeo said. "I'm going to the Ice Rock and Chiffon City." Zahu said. "Yes, before coming here, I went to Chiffon City first. Sister Kona's Eevee will also evolve into Ice Elf in the future, so I have to go there too." Zyroeo said. "I will definitely evolve Ice Elf, but I may not go to Chiffon City." Zahu said. "Where else can we go, if not to the city of Chiffon?" Zyroeo asked curiously. "A simulated greenhouse. As long as you increase your strength near a rock covered with ice, you can evolve. And this rock can be found everywhere, and it is easy to be covered with ice. Just one freezing ray will do." Zahu said. "Ah, there is such a method?" Haoi looked at Zahu in amazement. "There is such a method. The reason why everyone goes to the Ice Rock and Chiffon City is mainly because the first ice Pokémon discovered and recorded appeared there. So generally if you want to evolve an ice Pokémon, you go there. But how long has it been since the ice Pokémon was discovered. If we can only stay where we are now, you are underestimating us academics, Zahu said. Then in the future, as long as there is an ice Pokémon, you can let Eevee evolve into an ice Pokémon at any time. Heyo, I said, rocks and ice Pokémon are not a difficult task. That's not that easy. Although the main reason for evolution is the rock covered by ice, there are other minor settings that require professional personnel to plan and build. It's even more difficult to perfectly simulate the greenhouse environment of the cutting-edge city. Otherwise, why do you think I didn't let Eevee evolve? Because it's too troublesome to simulate. It's better to evolve directly in cutting-edge city. Anyway, it doesn't matter whether it evolves early or late, Zahu said. I thought Eevee could evolve at will now. In this case, there would be a lot of ice elves. Heyo, I said. In fact, compared to ice elves, I think leaf elves that also rely on rocks to evolve are more beautiful. Of course, the best looking ones are still fairy elves, Zahu said. That's because you have a fairy elf yourself, Kona said. It's because fairy elves are beautiful that I cultivate them. If it weren't for the amusement park incident and the fear that Mikali's little heart would be affected, I would participate in the gorgeous competition. Now it depends on you to work hard, Zahu said. Master is also participating in the gorgeous competition? Heyo, I looked at Zahu in surprise. Yeah, the gym match alone is not enough for me, so I plan to play the grand contest, but unfortunately the grand contest only lasts 5 minutes, not enough to be a demon, Zahu said. Master, you should come back to be the champion, don't travel. Heyo, I said weakly, don't go out to harm other children. You miss my special training, right? Don't worry, I will give you special training in the evening. Dragonite also misses your violent salamanders. Zahu smiled at Heyo. Heyo was so scared that he shivered immediately. Zahu's special training is not just for special training of Pokémon, but also for trainers. Work hard. I also hope that you will become the champion of this Mikali Cup, and then perform at the opening ceremony of the amusement park, to bring me a wave of business. Zahu said. Boss, isn't this job for me? Kajiro shouted. Your performance is not as gimmicky as the champion's performance. As for winning the championship, I don't have much hope for you anymore, Zahu said. Kajiro's eyes instantly became extremely resentful. Okay, let's work hard together. I'm very happy, no matter who among you wins the championship this time. And Mikali plans to have a gorgeous show match with the winner of this competition, so this is your chance to get in touch with your idol up close. Don't miss it, Zahu said. Mr. Mikali plans to play against the winner of this Mikali Cup. Zaoyao's eyes lit up, and she felt that her life had reached its peak all of a sudden. Yes, but you have to become the champion first. After all, there are still many opponents this time. For example, the classmate Xiaolang in front. Zahu looked at Xiaolang, who was standing in front of a small stall. Xiaolang, who was inexplicably cooed by Zahu, showed a trace of embarrassment on her face. After all, Zahu didn't leave a good impression on her. He abused her the first time they met, so she was not very happy to chat with Zahu, but she happened to have a good relationship with Xiaoguang during this period. Now Xiaoguang and the others are here, and it would be very rude not to say hello. After hesitating for a while, she still chose to come over, but she chose to block Zahu in her brain. Zahu didn't care, he just happened to see it, and just cue it casually. After picking up the person, Zahu went to the 7-star restaurant again, and invited Xiaoyao and Heoi to have a big meal. 2 days later, the Mikali Cup officially began. Unlike the Mikali Cup, held in the Orange Islands and the Johto region, which was mainly used to promote the grand tournament, the Mikali Cup in Sinnoh is more of a symbol of honor, which is also the true meaning of the establishment of the Mikali Cup, commemorating Mikali's outstanding contribution to the grand tournament. In addition, Sinnoh itself is a hall that countless coordination trainers want to conquer, so the number of players who came to participate in this competition is more than the total number of players in the Mikali Cup that Zahu participated in twice before. And the quality is even more excellent. Many of the contestants are famous coordination trainers from all over the country. In terms of the schedule, it is second only to the real grand tournament. There are 16 places for the second round of review, which is twice as many as the regional conference of the grand tournament in ordinary regions. The venue was no less large than a grand celebration. The huge pool was big enough for hundreds of people to swim. The opening of the competition was completed by Mikali. The slender and beautiful body of Mikali danced in the pool. Bubbles floated, reflecting colorful light, as if in a dream paradise. A series of gorgeous performances like flowing water conquered all the audience, making everyone deeply aware of the super high level of Mikali, the top coordination master. Many audiences even thought about becoming coordination trainers. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 479, Sukune on the Magnificent Stage. Don't be nervous. With your level, it won't be a big problem to pass the first round of review. Kona gently persuaded Xiaoguang under the list of people who entered the second round of review. Yeah. Xiaoguang nodded hard, trying to act more relaxed, but he couldn't help but use force with his hands holding Pokemon, and he was so stiff that he couldn't speak. Seeing this, Kona didn't say anything else. He looked up at the game with a hint of worry in his eyes. If Xiaoguang passed the first round, his heart knot would be solved. If he didn't pass, it would be very troublesome. Although Xiaozi and Xiaoxia didn't say it, they were worried about Xiaoguang in their hearts. After a long time, the list of people who passed the first round of review was finally announced on the electronic display. Xiaoguang's photo was on the list. Xiaoguang relaxed immediately and took a deep breath, as if he had just gone through a big battle and had no strength in his body. Wait, are the published photos arranged according to the results? Zahu suddenly asked. Generally speaking, the list of people who entered the second round will be arranged according to the performance of the players in the first round. This is also one of the main reasons why Xiaoyao is disliked, because he always steps on the spot. The reason why Zahu asked this question this time was mainly because he saw that Xiaozi's photo was posted in the second place. If so, Xiaozi didn't perform in one round, and he got second place. This is too terrifying. If it is true, Zahu will start to think about whether to let Xiaozi participate in the gorgeous competition in the future. After all, this guy has never been eliminated in the first round of review. It should be. Kona said uncertainly. In theory, it should be like this, but Xiaozi got second place in the first round of review. Is there really no shady deal? After hearing what Zahu said, a group of people looked at Xiaozi with strange eyes. Although this ranking is useless, one round of review is really enough to pass the line, but Xiaozi is a main focus of the gym competition. It was only the day before yesterday that he listened to Mikali's suggestion and planned to use swimming at Tachi to participate in the gorgeous competition. His score was actually higher than this. This is a very serious problem. Xiaozi, work hard. It's good to have many talents. Xin, strive to get the honor of being a top coordination trainer. If you win the Mikali Cup this time, I will help you get a pair of Pokémon League anniversary special sneakers that you have always wanted. Zahu said. Is it the anniversary limited edition sneakers with Pikachu pattern printed on them? Xiaozi looked at Zahu happily. Yes. Zahu said. I want it. I want it. The champion of the Mikali Cup this time is me. Xiaozi said excitedly. The league special things are very attractive to him. I think back to the time when I sent 1,000 postcards to the league in order to get this league anniversary special hat on my head, and Zahu punished me to do housework for a whole month. Now the sneakers have Pikachu patterns, which has increased the attraction to Xiaozi to the maximum level. Don't give me that. The championship is mine, and I want Pikachu sneakers too. Xiaoxia looked at Zahu and said. Okay, I will give a pair to whoever wins the championship. Okay. Zahu smiled. Thank you, brother Zahu. Xiaoxia, Xiaoguang, and Xiaoyao said in unison. Okay, from now on, you are all each other's rivals. Tomorrow, I look forward to your performance. Zahu said. Xiaozi and his group nodded solemnly, full of fighting spirit, looking forward to tomorrow. One night passed quickly. The next day, the competition scene was even more popular. Zahu came to the audience early to watch the competition of his brothers, sisters, and apprentices. 16 people, 8 groups of competitions, and then Zahu's 7 contestants. None of them bumped into each other in the first round, which was really godlike luck. Zyozzy and Kajero had already completed the competition and successfully advanced. Now it was Haoi who was competing. Kixie Bluebird, the voice of enchantment. Haoi gave orders calmly, no longer as impulsive as before. Kixie Bluebird flew freely in the sky, and the light pink music power surrounded its body. The long-eared rabbit opposite was immersed in the music, dazed, and had no chance to resist. Zahu in the audience saw this scene and couldn't help but smile with relief. This kid has really changed a lot, and he is really good. After being allowed by Genji to participate in the gorgeous competition, he was reborn, as if all the shackles on his body were opened. Very good performance. The trainer score of the opposite long-eared rabbit was less than 1/8, while Hiroya still had more than half. It was completely a battle between 2 coordinated trainers of 2 levels. The whole morning was carried out in such an atmosphere. 8 groups of players completed the battle, and Zahu's group of 7 people, including Xiaoyang, all advanced to the next round. But that was it, so the second round of the battle began with a civil war. Hiroya vs. Xiaoyang, Xiaoguang vs. Xiaojiro, Xiaoxia vs. Xiaoyao, and only Zyozzy fought against a stranger. Zyozzy's opponent was the first to release a Pokémon, which was a light monster with both water and electricity attributes. The light monster dived underwater, with only the small light bulb on its head, exposed above the water, flashing yellow electric light, which was extremely dangerous. Zahu frowned when he saw this. The only Pokémon Zyozzy would send out was Weasel, and Weasel's water attribute would be restrained by the electric monster, which was disadvantageous. Moreover, this opponent had not released the electric monster before, and it seemed that he was deliberately targeting Zyozzy. After all, Zyozzy only sent Weasel in the preliminary trial in the first round of battle. Zyoxia and the others had similar concerns. On the stage, Zyozzy, who had rarely dressed up like a gentleman, did not feel the danger at all. He took off a Pokeball from his waist calmly, and a red light shot out. In the center of the pool, a light blue dreamy figure appeared. The blue gem-like headdress exuded a luster-like flowing water, and the white streamers fluttered around the body like the wind, revealing a light and dreamy feeling. There were also some white diamond shapes on the blue body. Standing on the stage with his feet on the flowing water, without any movement, a holy breath came to his face. All the audience and judges in the entire arena were silent in an instant. In an instant, the entire arena was silent. However, this strange silence did not last for 2 seconds, and the entire stadium suddenly boiled up and exploded like hot oil in a frying pan. The messenger of Ho-Oh, the incarnation of the North Wind, Suicune. So far, the most recognized Pokémon is Milotic. But before the Grand Prix, Milotic was not actually the most beautiful Pokémon. Mainly because in the Grand Prix, there are constantly excellent coordination trainers who use Milotic to reach the top and win the championship. Adam and Mikali have brought the beauty of Milotic to the extreme. But this is when Suicune did not appear. Zahu in the audience was stunned for a long time before he reacted and smiled. Has Zyozzy finally become the legendary beast man he hates the most one day? Use Suicune to participate in the Grand Prix. Chapter 480 Biased Referee. The whole arena was full of discussion, but the one who was most touched was not Zahu and his group of people who knew Zyozzy, but Zyozzy's current opponent. Suicune? Are you kidding? He saw that Zyozzy was the only coordinated trainer who used a Pokémon in both the first and second rounds of the review, and thought that Zyozzy would use the water-type Weasel. So he deliberately used the electric monster that restrains the water-type. But now there is still a restraint, but it is Suicune. Zyozzy's opponent was in despair. Suicune, Tailwind, Zyozzy shouted. He didn't care whether his opponent was desperate or not. Whenever he fought, he would fight with all his strength. The light white ribbon on Suicune's body fluttered gently, and a strong wind suddenly blew in the pool, causing the water to ripple and the waves to roll. The electric monster under the water was immediately forced by the heavy water pressure and showed an extremely painful expression. The incarnation of the North Wind is not just a simple talk. Although it is not a flying attribute, the use of the trick Tailwind is better than that of many flying Pokémon. The trick of changing the auxiliary type is used to make it feel like an attack trick. Don't be afraid, electric monster. Even Suicune is a water type. Use 100,000 volts. Zyos, his opponent, shouted. The yellow light of the bulb on the head of electric monster flashed, and the electric current rushed out and shot towards Suicune along the water flow. The pool venue is very suitable for water type Pokémon like electric monster with electric attributes. Suicune, defend. Zyos, he said. Suicune stood on the waves, and the water flow under his feet surged, forming several thin streams of water surrounding his body. Electric Monster's 100,000 volts attacked along the water flow, but it was also completely separated by the water flow. Suicune was not hurt at all. Instead, Suicune stood in the water flow, with a little electric light shining, holy and floating. Extraordinary. Return Fist Protective Shield. Originally, after being beaten up by Melissa, the gym trainer of the Edge Gym, Zyos had the idea to create this special move. But because Zahu had already used the Return Punch Shield to turn it into an air dance for flying Pokémon, Zyos, who had always regarded Zahu as his target, naturally learned it very early. However, it was the first time that he used it in a performance at the gorgeous competition. Just a simple appearance made the audience cheer. Zahu listened to the cheers from all sides, and his expression on his face couldn't help but wonder, this guy Zyos, is it really better to be a coordination trainer? He looks really talented. Huh. Meow Meow suddenly screamed, and Zahu turned his head in fear. He thought something had happened to Meow Meow, but it turned out to be safe and sound. He said angrily, "What's wrong? Are you making a fuss?" "No, boss, look at Zyos' score. This is not scientific." Meow. Meow Meow said. "Not scientific?" Zahu looked over curiously, and his originally casual expression changed rapidly. He finally understood why Meow Meow was surprised. Zyos' score was not deducted at all, while Zyos' opponent's score was less than 1/10, and it was almost invisible. The disparity was completely unreasonable. "Boss, didn't the game just start? It hasn't even been a minute, and Zyos has only used 2 special moves in total. Why is the opponent's score so low?" Meow Meow said. "Because this group of referees is really biased to the extreme. Although they all represent fairness and have not accepted Zyos' bribes, they are also human beings and have their own emotional preferences. Seeing the performance of Suicune, who is rarely seen in a century, in the gorgeous competition, their emotional bias has completely fallen on Suicune, and they hope that Suicune will win, so the scoring is oriented towards Suicune. If you can avoid deducting points, don't deduct points, and if you can add points, add points. In addition, the move of the Return Punch Protective Shield is indeed spectacular at first glance, so the score is not surprising." Zahu said. "So, Zyos will win the championship?" Meow Meow said. "Not necessarily. After all, Macaulay and the others are professionals. It's just the first time they see Suicune perform, so they are just excited. After a rest at night, their minds will be clear. It will be fair then. Even if there is still a little bias, it won't be as obvious as today," Zahu said. "However, Zyos is sure to win this time." Kona said. "Yes, when he took out Suicune, he won the game. If I had known, I would have signed up to play. It would be so interesting," Zahu said with regret. He really didn't expect Zyos to play so seriously all of a sudden. He missed a good opportunity to play with his younger brother in vain. If you feel depressed, think about how Zyraksha and Zyagaguan feel now, and you may feel happier," Kona said. Zahu thought about it along the direction of Kona's words, and then he smiled suddenly, and he felt much more comfortable. Facing Suicune, how should Zyraksha and the others fight? In the backstage, Zyraksha and her group, watching the live video broadcast, felt very subtle. Although everyone was participating in the competition together, and they were both rivals and friends, everyone still looked down on Zyos to some extent. After all, Zyos was just a guest. But now this guest seems to have become a dark horse. Is this the attraction of the league's special Pikachu sneakers? Kajiro said. "I think so," Zyraksha said uncertainly. "When did Zyos get Suicune?" Xiaolang asked curiously. She was the only one among all the people present who didn't know that Zyos had Suicune. It's been a long time, but Zyozzy has always used the Pokemon captured locally, so after coming to Sinnoh, he never let Suicune out to fight. I didn't expect that he would actually fight in the grand tournament. Zyosha explained, and she was also shocked in her heart. In Zyozzy's battle, except for Pikachu, he has never used his old pets. He has never even sent out Lucario, who has always been with him. He just acts as a security guard. I didn't expect that he would use Suicune this time. The opponents are getting stronger, so we have to work harder. Next, we have to defeat our opponents first, before we can fight against Suicune. It must be meaningful to fight against the incarnation of the legendary North Wind. Xiao Wang's eyes revealed a hint of fighting spirit. Yes, it's interesting to have a gorgeous battle with Suicune. But I will be the winner. Heyo, I said tit for tat. Xiao Wang's opponent is him. Then it's our game next. I hope it will be more exciting than this game. Xiao Wang said. Yes, let's have a good fight. Heyo, I also said solemnly. Zyosha, Xiao, Xiaoguang, and Kajiro were all left looking at each other. Everyone is a strong opponent. Not only Xiaoguang and Heyo have to fight, but they also have to fight. Especially Xiaoguang and Kajiro, they will fight next. Although the two have a good relationship, when it comes to the victory of the gorgeous competition, no one will give in. Chapter 481 Dragon Civil War. The battle was fierce, and there were wonderful and gorgeous battles every day. Xiaoguang passed a round of review, and after his heart knot was resolved, he defeated Kajiro unstoppably, and fought against Zyozzy. Because they were his own people, Zyozzy did not send Suicune, but Weasel to fight, wanting Xiaoguang, Weasel's former trainer, to see Weasel's growth. Xiaoguang originally planned to send out the two-tailed monster, but unfortunately the two-tailed monster lost too much combat power in the battle with Kajiro, and could not fight again, so Xiaoguang had to send out the curly ear. Without the bonus assistance of Suicune, Zyozzy's level was finally recognized. Although his fighting level was not bad, his score was still suppressed by Xiaoguang, who had always aimed to be a top coordination trainer, until Curly Air used the freezing beam. Then Zyozzy sprayed an icicle, and deducted most of Xiaoguang's points. Especially this move was thought of by Xiaoguang, but it had never been used, so Xiaoguang was shocked for a while, and Curly Air was obsessed with the beauty of Pikachu next to Zyozzy, and unfortunately lost. There is no other way. After all, although 70% of the competition depends on hard work, 30% is determined by fate. On the other side, Heyo also won consecutive games, defeating Xiaoguang with Thorn Dragon King, and then defeating Zyosha with Violent Salamander, advancing to the final stage. Today's finals became a battle between Zahu's apprentice and his younger brother. Boss, what do you think about the battle between your last disciple and your younger brother? Do you want your younger brother to win, or your apprentice to win? Zyojiro looked at Zahu with a gossipy face. Although he was eliminated by Xiaoguang in the first round, for a heartless person like Zyojiro, disappointment is completely non-existent. I hope my little brother will win, but there is no way. Zahu looked at Zyojiro with an expression that said, you disappoint me. Looking at Zahu's eyes, that contained complex emotions such as mud can't be helped on the wall, rotten wood can't be carved, hate iron for not becoming steel, you disappoint me too much, etc. Zyojiro immediately shrank his neck and didn't speak. Zahu glanced at Kajiro proudly. As long as I'm alive, you are all my younger brothers. Especially you, the younger brother among younger brothers. Where is Zyosha? Xiaoguang looked around curiously, but did not see Zyosha, and could not help but ask curiously. Although she lost the game, she was not in a bad mood. After all, she had passed the first round of review. It was not the first time that she failed in the second round of review. Moreover, half of the loss this time was due to herself, as the idea of the jet icicle was hers. When I came here, I saw her shopping with a girl. Xiaoguang replied. Shopping with a girl? Xiaoguang showed a hint of curiosity on her face. She and Zyosha had known each other for a long time, and she also knew everyone Zyosha knew in Sinnoh. How come a girl suddenly appeared? Girl? Zahu thought thoughtfully, hoping that she had guessed wrong, otherwise Heoi would have a hard time in today's game. The wonderful Macaulay Cup has finally reached the finals. The two players who are going to compete now are Zyozzy, the Suicune trainer from Kanto Pallet Town, and Haoi, the Dragon Pokémon trainer from the Hone region. The winner of them will not only become the champion of the Mikali Cup, but also have a battle performance with the top coordination trainer, Master Mikali. The host Bayan explained enthusiastically. She was also very satisfied watching the competitions of these resting coordination trainers these days. It was much more exciting than the general gorgeous competition. Now it's Zyozzy's turn to send out the Pokémon, Bayan said. Zyozzy heard Bayan's voice and curled his lips, revealing a trace of disappointment. If Haoi had sent out the Pokémon first, he could have scared Haoi. Instead of putting his hand on the Pokéball on his waist, he looked to the side, and then a cute girl quickly ran over and stood in front of Zyozzy. This lady, the competition is now in progress. Can you go down? The host looked at the girl who ran up and said. But the girl did not answer the host's words, but tilted her head, with a cute face. The host and the audience were confused. Haoi's face, which was originally quite good, turned dark at this moment. Others didn't know this girl, so how could he not know her? He looked at Zyozzy with a dark face and said, you actually used her too. Forget about Suicune, but you even sent Latias to the field. Do you still have any shame? Brother said that if I win, I can get the league's special Pikachu sneakers, and Suicune and Latias both like the grand contest. Brother said that the most important thing for a trainer is to communicate with your Pokémon, and make Pokémon happy. Zyozzy said. So let me fight them all. Haoi smiled bitterly, and the hand that was originally going to take the first Pokéball on his waist moved to the second Pokéball and then enlarged the Pokéball and threw it out, releasing Tanabata Bluebird. Tanabata Bluebird? Why not use the Hurricane Salamander? I'm looking forward to fighting the Hurricane Salamander. Zyozzy asked curiously. Because the Tyrant has no advantage against Latias, but Tanabata Bluebird is different. Zyozzy, you haven't seen Tanabata Bluebird's Super Evolution yet. Haoi smiled. You even found Tanabata Bluebird's Super Evolution Stone. Zyozzy looked at the Super Evolution Stone hanging on Tanabata Bluebird's neck in surprise. Of course. Come and see the growth of Tanabata Bluebird in me. Tanabata Bluebird, soar into the sky and respond to my heart. Haoi looked solemn, and the evolution keystone on his wrist shone with mysterious colorful brilliance, reflecting the super evolution stone on Tanabata Bluebird's neck, and the super evolution light immediately enveloped Tanabata Bluebird's whole body. Tanabata Bluebird's back feathers radiated light, and suddenly became fluffy, wrapping its whole body, looking extraordinary. In that case, Latias, let's do it too. Zyozzy showed the Mega Evolution Stone on his wrist and said solemnly, Latias, respond to my heart and let everyone see our full strength. Colorful light was injected into the girl in front of Zyozzy. The light and shadow changed, and the girl immediately turned into Latias. Then she leaped and evolved again. Her body stretched and became larger, completing the Mega Evolution, confronting Tanabata Bluebird, and rising to the sky at the same time. The audience around exclaimed again, feeling very satisfied. Just to watch the Mikali Cup competition, they saw two legendary Pokémon, which was really worth the ticket price. Even Konkenstein and Sumuzu, two professional gorgeous competition judges, felt that their eyes were opened, and they felt that this Mikali Cup was the most interesting gorgeous competition they had watched in recent years. Only Mikali looked at Tanabata Bluebird and Latias flying in the sky, and a bitter smile appeared on his face. Sure enough, no gorgeous competition can let Zehu participate. Last time, the Johto Mikali Cup destroyed the entire venue. Now I didn't play, but my apprentice and my brother didn't send out any simple Pokémon. Fortunately, they can all fly, otherwise the venue would be destroyed again. Chapter 482 Haoi's Growth. A dragon-type traitor versus a dragon-type mythical beast. This match is really interesting. Zehu smiled strangely. Before the match, he didn't know that Zyozzy would send Latias. Similarly, he didn't know that Haoi's Tanabata Bluebird could actually Mega Evolve. But it was these unknowns that made the result of this match very interesting. Dragon-type traitor? Xiaoguang looked at Zehu in confusion. What new term is this? Yes. Tanabata Bluebird was a flying type and a dragon type before it evolved, just like the violent salamander, nothing special. but once it evolves, it will have the fairy type that restrains the dragon the most, becoming the only Pokémon with a combination of dragon and fairy types. From a member of the dragon type to the nemesis of the dragon type, so it should be called a dragon type traitor. Zahoo smiled. The mega evolved Tanabata Bluebird has a fairy type? Zyossi knows? Zylaksha said in surprise. When you asked this question, didn't you have an idea in your mind? In Pokémon, Zyossi basically doesn't know what you and Zyargang don't know. Zahoo said. Misty opened her mouth and had the answer in her heart. She could only pray that Zyossi would have good luck. Latius, use the mind hammer. Zyossi took the initiative. The light above Latius's head shone, and he came to Tanabata Bluebird as fast as teleportation, as fast as a stream of light, so fast that it was unimaginable. Zylaksha's eyes lit up, secretly happy that Zyossi, who was a brainless person, actually used the right trick, and didn't use the dragon type. Did Zyossi secretly make up for his lessons, so he knew the attributes of the super evolved Tanabata Bluebird? Carrying Zylaksha's full hope, Latius burst out at an astonishing speed, and was about to hit. But at the moment, when Latius rushed over at a high speed, the airflow surged sharply, and Tanabata Bluebird's fluffy feathers moved along the current, and flew into the sky effortless, and actually avoided Latius' mind hammer. Tanabata Bluebird, Dragon Dance. Heyo, I said. Tanabata rose straight into the sky, dancing gracefully and beautifully under the reflection of the sun, showing amazing charm. Zyos's score was mercilessly deducted. Beautiful. Using Latius's fast attack to show Tanabata's flexible evasion ability, as well as the ability to fly upwards quickly, and then using the Dragon Dance to show elegance. Heoi has really grown a lot in this period of time. Zahoo smiled and nodded. His first apprentice couldn't be too bad. Brother Zahoo, don't be too impressed. Tell us what happened first. Latius's flying speed is so fast, how could Tanabata dodge so easily? Zylaksha was shocked. As the only person besides Zyossi who knew that Latius was coming, she knew how fast Latius was. Her mega evolved Gyarados was almost doubted by the training, but Tanabata dodged it so easily. Because the feathers of Tanabata Bluebird are specially constructed, it can easily fly high into the sky by using air currents. There was once a bard who exaggeratedly praised that Bluebird soared up to the sky. In the current statistics of Pokémon data, Tanabata Bluebird ranks in the top 3 in the ranking of Pokémon that fly upwards. As for the data after Super Evolution, it has not been recorded yet, but it is definitely faster than before. Zahoo explained. So now it is a competition between the parallel flying overlord and the vertical flying overlord. Not only does Latius have disadvantageous attributes, but he also has no great advantage in flying speed, Zylaksha said. After knowing that Tanabata Bluebird has fairy attributes, she thought that Latius could win by speed, but now speed seems to be useless. Yeah, the flying battle. Interesting, isn't it? Zahoo smiled. I think what's more interesting is that Zyossi doesn't know all this now. Zyanagang said. Yes. Zahoo smiled. It's flying so fast. Zyossi on the stage thought the same as Zyanagang. Because there was no Zahoo to answer online, he was very puzzled by Tanabata's dodging of Latius's attack. However, Zyossi was not surprised for long, and he was immersed in the battle again, shouting, Latius, fly upwards, use the mind hammer again, we won't lose in speed. Latius looked up and flew into the sky. Tanabata could easily fly upwards with the help of rising air currents, but it had no advantage in straight line flight on a flat surface. Compared with ordinary Pokémon, it had no advantage. Latius was different. Whether it was flat or vertical, its straight line flight speed was superb. He rushed towards Tanabata with murderous intent. Tanabata, cotton defense. Heoi did not dodge this time, but chose to confront head on. Tanabata's already extremely fluffy feathers expanded again, like a big ball of cotton, wrapping the whole body and protecting all the vital parts. Latius's hammer of will hit hard, but it crashed into the cotton, and the powerful force was dissipated by more than 60% to 70%. Although Heoi's score was deducted because of his poor defense, Tanabata Bluebird was not actually hurt. Tanabata Bluebird, Song of Destruction. Heoi shouted. Tanabata Bluebird's head suddenly stretched out of the cotton protective circle, black light flashed in its mouth, and the red and black energy wave hit Latius directly. Latius's head shook slightly, but he didn't show any expression. Latius, use Dragon Wave. Zyos, he shouted. He knew the effect of the Song of Destruction. Although it was powerful, it would take some time to take effect. Now using Dragon Wave could severely injure Tanabata Bluebird. Tanabata Bluebird was a dragon. The purple giant dragon phantom from Latius' mouth rushed out, mighty and domineering, and fiercely rushed towards Tanabata Bluebird. At this moment, Tanabata Bluebird's head was exposed, and there was no place to hide, so it was hit directly. Zyos' attack timing is still very good. However, I was confused. Just now, didn't he know to use psychic type moves instead of dragon type moves? Why is he using Dragon Wave now? When he used the Song of Destruction, he had planned to pay a certain price, but it turned out to be 0 price. Because of the surprise, I forgot to give Latius a finishing blow, and just looked at Zyos. What are you thinking? Why is Dragon Wave ineffective? Isn't Tanabata Bluebird a dragon type? Zyos, he asked in surprise. After Tanabata Bluebird super evolved, it has fairy attributes. I explained weakly. Ah, it has fairy attributes. Zyos, he said in shock. You don't know? I seemed to understand the situation. Yeah. Zyos, he said. Then why didn't you use Dragon Wave just now, but used Mind Hammer? I said. Because I think Mind Hammer is better. Zyos, he said. I opened his mouth, but he was speechless. I thought he was a king, but later I found out that I was thinking too much. It was only now that Zehu could not answer, otherwise, Zehu would definitely tell I that Zyos' fighting style was that all Pokémon had fighting types, high speed, and swift attack, which were what Zyos was good at. Using the Mind Hammer to close the distance was a matter of course. Chapter 483 Latius's Outburst. Song of Doom, when it hits at first, does no damage, but as time goes by, the damage will suddenly increase, making the Pokémon lose its ability to fight. Plus, Tanabata Bluebird is immune to dragon type moves, so this match will be difficult for Zyos. Zyanagang said worriedly. Although he has a good relationship with I, he definitely has a better relationship with Zyos. In this match, Zyos' chance of winning is really small. Half of the points have been deducted, while I has less than a quarter of the points deducted. Not doing homework beforehand, being calculated, and falling into a routine. It is not unacceptable to lose. But now it is not necessarily a loss. The super evolved Latius is stronger than you think. If Zyos' Latius' main attack method is not dragon type moves, and Tanabata Bluebird is a fairy type, this match would not be suspenseful. Zehu said, the effect of Song of Doom in the game is to make all Pokémon on the field fall into the Song of Doom state, and after 3 rounds, they will fall into the state of dying. Like Absolute Zero, it is a one-hit kill trick. However, unlike Absolute Zero, which has an absurdly low hit rate, Song of Destruction has a 100% hit rate, but the effect is delayed, and it can be solved by taking back the Pokéball. In reality, there is no clear round time, and there is number 100% hit rate. However, after being hit by Song of Destruction, you will indeed fall into a strange state. The energy of Song of Destruction sneaks into the Pokémon's body like a virus, and when it is fully developed, it will burst out and instantly lose the ability to fight. As Haoi's master, Zehu is very satisfied. During this time apart, Haoi has really grown a lot. But as Zyos' brother, Zehu is sure that Zyos' strength is more than this. We know everything we should know, and there will be a turnaround next. Latius, use the Mind Hammer again. Zyos, he shouted. If the dragon trick is ineffective, then the superpower trick will be carried out to the end. Just attack at close range. Latius' head flashed with a faint light, and he rushed straight away quickly, like a missile. Tanabata, use Divine Bird Smash. Haoi said. After being hit by the Song of Destruction, his physical condition would be slightly affected. It was a good opportunity to test Latius' attack power. After all, it was a game. It would be too embarrassing to keep running away. The Genji family was a well-known representative of the strong attack flow of Hone. Tanabata spread its wings, and the mighty shadow of the divine bird appeared around its body, with awe-inspiring momentum. When Latius' Mind Hammer arrived, the divine bird was fully charged, and bravely collided with Latius. After a loud bang, Latius rushed straight, from bottom to top, knocking Tanabata away. Even if he couldn't use his best dragon type trick, Latius still proved to be strong. Very good, Latius. Keep up the good work, and use another mind hammer. Zyozzy said. Latius attacked again, and the mind hammer attacked fiercely. Tanabata, dragon dance. Heyo, I said. Tanabata Bluebad danced and rotated its body, using the rotation of Latius's attack to dodge the attack, and once again increased its speed and attack power. The result of the attack just now had made Heoi understand the difference between Tanabata Bluebird and Latius's strength, so it would be irrational to attack stupidly. Although he was born in a family of strong attack, he was born with the company of Zhu and Mu. After being with Kajero and Meowth for a long time, Heoi was well aware of the principle of wretched development. Delay time to death. Resist, and you will win. Zyozzy commanded Latius to attack quickly and make several attacks, but the effect was mediocre, which made him very anxious, but he didn't have any good solution for a while. He trained Pokémon to liberate his nature, naturally, and Latius didn't like fighting very much, so most of his special moves were auxiliary special moves such as Mystic Guardian. There were only a few special moves in total for combat. Apart from the dragon type special move of Dragon Wave, only the Mind Hammer could be used. In an instant, the situation fell into an awkward subtlety. Finally, Zyozzy sighed and took out the Pokéball from his waist. Even if he lost the game, losing the game was a small matter. Latius's safety was the most important. It was more important to take Latius back to the Pokéball and remove the state of Song of Destruction. Although Zyozzy had no idea what the principle was. After all, the Pokéball has always been a very magical creation. It existed long before the birth of modern technology. For example, Shinori had a huge Pokéball made of stone to suppress a huge telekinetic clay doll. It contains the highest wisdom of modern technology and the great creation of mysterious magic, and maybe the laws of the world. Let alone Zyozzy, even Zahu didn't know. Maybe Professor Oak knew something, but it didn't matter. In this world, there are too many things whose principles are unknown. Let's not talk about the advanced ones. Let's just say that there are a few children who only need the principle of sucking water with a straw, but does this prevent them from drinking milk? No, not at all. In short, the Pokéball is magical. Even the state of confusion can be removed, as long as the Pokéball is taken back. Latius, come back. Zyozzy raised the Pokéball and a red light shot out. There was a hint of doubt in Latius' eyes, and then he floated his body, avoiding the red light from the Pokéball. He turned his head and looked at Zyozzy curiously. Why didn't he fight? Didn't he say he wanted sneakers? Come back, your body is the most important. Zyozzy said. Body? Latius was slightly puzzled, and then shook his head, showing his firm will to fight. After following Zyozzy, it has not played a few games, basically playing in the Oak Research Institute, and those few games lost more than one, so Latius didn't want to lose this rare game. It really likes Zyozzy, so it wants to win. Thinking of this, Latius used light refraction without Zyozzy's consent to directly become invisible, so that Zyozzy's Pokéball could not lock it. Zyozzy was stunned. In fact, even if Latius used the refraction of light to become invisible, he still knew where Latius was, because after the bond evolution with Lucario, Zyozzy's Wava Guide ability increased greatly, and he could already use Wava Guide to determine the location. Latius's invisibility could not cover the Wava Guide, but Latius proved its determination with its actions, so how could Zyozzy refuse? Feeling Latius's deep concern for him, Zyozzy's fighting spirit soared, and he shouted, Latius, first go with the wind, then use your mind to hammer. Tanabe Bluebird, be careful, feel the changes in the airflow around you, and then take the opportunity to act. Latius is just invisible, not disappearing. Heyo, I said. Tanabata Bluebird flew quietly in the air, without rashly acting, feeling the changes in the airflow around it, and then looking for an opportunity to dodge. While waiting quietly, Tanabata Bluebird had not yet sensed Latius, and suddenly a strong impact came, and Tanabata Bluebird was directly knocked away by Latius, and suffered heavy damage. Kixie Bluebird can fly upward with the help of the change of airflow, but Latius Tailwind can make the airflow around Kixie Bluebird turbulent, so Kixie Bluebird can no longer fly freely with the help of force. Zyozzy looked at Haoi and said. At the critical moment, his IQ finally burst out. Latius, use the mind hammer again. Zyozzy said. Latius rushed over quickly and galloped in the sky, but because of invisibility, no one could see it. Zyozzy no longer cared about this gorgeous competition. What charm or not, just beat Kixie Bluebird to lose its combat ability, and that was it. Kixie Bluebird, cotton defense. Haoi said. Latius's speed was too fast, plus the combination of invisibility and tailwind. He really couldn't judge where Latius was in a short time, so instead of looking for a flaw in a daze, it would be better to simply defend it strictly and defend to the end. Persistence is victory. Haoi didn't believe that Latius's physical strength could last for a long time. So, the scene was very strange for a while. The fluffy feathers on the Tanabata Bluebird exploded completely, covering the whole body tightly, not revealing any vital parts, like a ball in the sky, while Latius was invisible throughout the whole process, constantly attacking, and then the Tanabata Bluebird ball floated back and forth. The audience complained about this confusing behavior, thinking that this was not a gorgeous competition at all. The 3 permanent judges and Mikali also fell into thinking, what should we do with this score? Tanabata Bluebird, it's easy to solve, of course. It will continue to deduct points, but what about Latius? Other Pokémon disappeared. Needless to say, it's a deduction. If all Pokémon disappeared, how can they show their charm? But light refraction is precisely Latius' most unique ability. Unique. Although the invisible dragon can also change color, it can't be compared with Latius's color change. And if this is considered charm, then Haoi will lose points from the moment Latius came on stage. Because the transformation into a human is the best embodiment of Latius's control over the refraction of light. The 4 judges were confused. What if their knowledge is not broad enough? Moreover, they cannot discuss it too obviously in public. Even if they don't know anything, they can't let people think that they are unprofessional. Let's talk about it after 5 minutes. Anyway, this game will definitely not last for 5 minutes, and one of the Pokémon will lose the ability to fight, and the score is not important. Time passed bit by bit, the attack power of Tanabata Bluebird became stronger and stronger, and the Song of Destruction in Latius became stronger and stronger. Zyozzy kept commanding at first, but later he simply stopped talking. In this battle, his tacit understanding with Latius further evolved to the point where they could communicate with each other. Latius, can you still hold on? Yes. For Zyozzy, I can. Okay. The last mental hammer. Latius' eyes were firm. This time he must defeat the cotton defense. He must. The will to win was stronger than ever. A strange white light flashed on Latius' body, and it violently hit Tanabata Bluebird, knocking Tanabata Bluebird straight into the ground from the sky. Tanabata Bluebird's cotton scattered, exited the super evolution form, revealing a pair of big circular eyes. Haoi's score was directly reset to 0. Latius was delighted when he saw this, and a big stone was put down in his heart. He breathed a sigh of relief, and the power of the Song of Destruction exploded, and he was also forced to exit the super evolution form, returning to his original form, and fell on Tanabata Bluebird, revealing a pair of circular eyes. Chapter 484 Haunted Dormitory. The winner is revealed. The winner of this year's Mikali Cup is Zyozzy from Pallet Town. Not only will he receive the ribbon medal, but he will also have an open friendly exhibition match with Hone Champion Master Mikali tomorrow. The Mikali Cup came to an end with the host Bahian's words. The audience stood up one after another. Although they were disappointed with today's gorgeous strategy, they couldn't help but get excited when they thought about watching the battle of Champion Master Mikali tomorrow. However, Zyozzy was not particularly happy. Instead, he took back Latius and ran to the Pokémon Center. Don't worry, Latius won't be in big trouble. Give Miss Joy treatment and she will be fine tomorrow at the latest, Zahu said. Zyozzy nodded to indicate his agreement, but his expression still revealed anxiety. I'm really worried. Just improve your quality. In the afternoon match, if the score is based on a 10-point system, Haoi has 7 points, and you have 4 points, which shows that you are rich. Zahu said. I know, I will work hard to train Latius, and improve the power of his special moves such as mental strength and intentional hammer. Zyozzy said apologetically. That's one thing. On the other hand, even though there are special moves available, your use of them is also a failure. Lacius' special moves include Refresh, which can slow down the effects of the Song of Destruction. And you never used it from beginning to end. Zahu said. Refresh can only treat poisoning and paralysis, right? Does it work on the effects of the Song of Destruction? Zyozzy was puzzled. After so many years of traveling, there are still some effects. He knows the effect of Refresh. Theoretically, the special move of Mystic Guardian only prevents Pokémon from falling into abnormal states. But I don't know how many Pokémon use Mystic Guardian as a protective shield. Theory, just listen to it. Zahu said. Refresh will make the body function develop in a healthy direction and clean itself. Although it cannot completely solve the effects of the Song of Destruction, it can also relieve injuries. At least it can last a little longer. I see. Zyozzy nodded suddenly. But it's a bit wrong. Lacius taught himself the ultimate move of repaying a favor at the end, and defeated Tanabata Bluebad with one move. This is your biggest gain in this game. Zahu said. It's all thanks to Lacius. Zyozzy said. You only have this strength. But you can let Lacius pass the ultimate move of repaying a favor to other Pokémon. After all, the power of repaying a favor is determined by the bond between the Pokémon and the trainer. And your Pokémon, except for Muddy, Quintero, and Crab, which may be a little worse, the rest are top notch. By the way, you can teach Kuchiro when you have time. This guy's only advantage as a Pokémon trainer is that he has a high degree of intimacy with Pokémon. Zahu said. I will learn it after Lacius becomes proficient. Zyozzy said. Okay, then adjust your state and prepare for the battle with Mikali tomorrow. Also, do I want to watch how you lose? Zahu said. Brother, we haven't even started yet, and you're going to make sure I lose. Zyozzy said depressedly. Nonsense. Even if it's a full strength battle, a one-on-one ace park, your winning rate is less than 30%. Not to mention a gorgeous battle performance, your winning rate tomorrow is 0. Zahu affirmed. Although Mikali's championship is a bit watered down, because he didn't beat Zahu, the former champion, but Mikali's strength is unquestionable. Zyozzy is too young to win. Not to mention the gorgeous battle, Mikali can easily use his second army against Zyozzy's main force. For tomorrow's game, Zahu doesn't need to have any expectations, it's just a simple king bullying bronze. Zyozzy hung his head. Although Zahu was telling the truth, he said it so directly, which was very hurtful. Looking at the depressed Zyozzy, Zahu smiled slightly. Some people need encouragement, some people need a little blow, and Zyozzy obviously belongs to the latter. After a few words, Zahu turned and left. Zyozzy has been traveling for many years. Zahu believes that Zyozzy can handle these problems. Even if there are any problems, he can ask Zyuksha, Zyugang, and Zyuguang to solve them, instead of asking Zahu, his brother, to help more, which is not conducive to Zyozzy's independent growth. Leaving the Pokémon Center, he walked towards the amusement park that has been built, but not yet opened. As soon as he arrived at the door, Zahu had no contact, and saw Meowth and Zyangui Meowth running out of the dormitory in panic. Seeing Zahu was like seeing a savior. They rushed to Zahu happily, and said with tears in their eyes, Boss, help, the dormitory is haunted. The dormitory is haunted. Are you kidding? It's not the first day we live here. Zahu said indifferently. Is it true? There is really a ghost in there. It's so scary. Zyangui Meowth can testify. Meowth hugged Zahu's calf tightly and said, Meow meow. Zyangui Meowth called cutely, indicating that Meowth was not lying. Is it really haunted? Is it a Jenga or Haunter that floated over here? Zahu's expression remained calm, and he was not too surprised. In this world, where ghost type and psychic Pokémon coexist, it is normal to have some supernatural phenomena. He swung the Pokéball and released Lucario. Although Lucario is a fighting type, no matter whether the Pokémon inside is ghost type or psychic type, Lucario's attributes are not favorable, but the Wave Guide is indeed the most useful means to find Pokémon. Let's first determine what is going on inside. Go in and see what the ghost is. Zahu moved his legs, that were tightly held by Meow Meow. No, there is a ghost, boss. You go in first, and I will go in after you come out safely. Meow Meow said with a timid look. Zahu looked down at Meow Meow. At this time, can you just give up if you want to? His right hand grabbed like lightning. This grab was honed through thousands of times. After repeated training, Zahu was full of confidence. However, he didn't catch it. The smile on Zahu's face froze, and he turned his head stiffly and found that Meow Meow, who was holding his calf a second ago, had actually pulled Meow Meow to run 10 meters away. They are all old friends who doesn't know each other. Boss, I'll wait for you outside. If you can't come out, I will go in and collect your body. Meow. Meow Meow shouted. After I come out, I will continue to train you. I think your potential should not be exhausted by learning to speak. Maybe you can learn to move at high speed or flash. Zahu stared at Meow Meow. In 1 second, he ran 10 meters. Sure enough, you need to be destroyed. Meow Meow. Turning around and taking Lucario into the dormitory, Zahu was also curious about what was inside that could scare Meow Meow like this. Pushing the door open and walking into the room, Zahu hadn't pressed the light switch yet, and the originally dark light suddenly lit up, and all the electrical appliances in the entire dormitory emitted strange lights, flickering, as if it was haunted. It looks a bit scary, but you're scared just like that. Meow Meow is too timid. Zahu frowned and looked at Lucario. Did you sense the wave of the Pokémon? Lucario nodded and pointed to the refrigerator on the side. Where is it? Zahu nodded and looked at it sharply. He saw that the originally calm refrigerator suddenly vibrated violently, and a large amount of cold air was sprayed out. The temperature of the whole room suddenly dropped, and a large amount of frost condensed. It seemed like a world of ice and snow. Lucario's eyes moved, and his body quickly moved in front of Zahu. The power of the wave surged, forming a solid protective shield to protect himself and Zahu's safety. Blizzard? It's really an interesting trick. But the refrigerator can attack. Zahu showed an inexplicable smile on his face. He seemed to know what this ghost was, and threw the Pokeball directly on the refrigerator. A red light flashed, and the whole refrigerator was sucked in. Then, after a few movements, the refrigerator flew out again. At the same time, a ghost Pokémon wrapped in blue translucent plasma floated out. Finally it appeared. Zahu raised his lips slightly, threw out Ninetales' Pokeball and said, Ninetale, telekinesis control. Ninetale's eyes glowed dimly, and the light blue telekinesis turned into substance to lock onto the ghost Pokémon that had just appeared, and then Zahu threw another Pokeball over. This time, the Pokeball stabilized after flashing red light several times, indicating that it had been successfully captured. Chapter 485 Rotom. Zahu took back the Pokeball and then released the Pokémon, then smiled and said, Hello, Rotom. Rotom rose directly into the air and looked at Zahu with dissatisfaction. It just wanted to play a prank, but it didn't expect to be captured. Don't be like this. Do you want to eat batteries? Zahu picked up a battery from the side and threw it to Rotom. Rotom took it and absorbed the current in the battery without hesitation, then smacked his lips. It tasted good. He looked at Zahu again, thought about it, and chose to accept his fate. Isn't it just being captured? Seeing Rotom calm down, Zahu also smiled comfortably. He didn't expect to meet a wild Rotom here. Although Rotom is not a particularly powerful Pokémon, nor a particularly popular Pokémon, it is definitely a rare Pokémon. It is currently the only Pokémon with 6 forms that can survive in various electrical appliances and regard electrical appliances as its own body. Moreover, it will change its own attributes according to the different appliances it possesses, and automatically learn new special moves. If it possesses a refrigerator, it will become a dual attribute of electricity and ice, and learn blizzard. If it possesses a washing machine, its attributes will become dual attributes of electricity and water, and learn water cannon special moves. It does not need to be taught at all. In addition, its habitat is unknown. So far, no large-scale wild gathering places of Rotom have been found. Only occasionally will wild Rotom go to human houses and control appliances to play pranks. It is also a famous Pokémon that likes to play pranks. Professor Oak has always wanted to catch one for a search, but he has no chance, and Zahu is also very interested in Rotom. It's just that, because I don't know where it is, I just let it go. I didn't expect to meet it here. In particular, after the departure of Zapdos, Zahu didn't have an electric Pokémon in his hands. Now it's also great to have one delivered. I sighed in my heart, and a phone call suddenly came in. Zahu saw that it was Dr. Yamanashi's call, and curiously answered the phone. Drive Yamanashi, what's wrong? Has the lecture been confirmed? Yes, the time has been confirmed, and the list of invited students has been basically drawn up. When are you free? Dr. Yamanashi's voice sounded from the other end of the phone. I can say anything. I will be free after the opening of the amusement park tomorrow. Has the location been confirmed? Zahu said. Near the wetland city. Wait a moment. I will send you the location. Dr. Yamanashi said. Near the wetland city. That's perfect. After I challenge the wetland gym, I will go to guest star as a 7-day teacher. By the way, what are the specific teaching contents? Zahu said. It's a simple 7-day lecture. The future people will be divided into 3 groups, and then the content will be set, and the education will be graded. Dr. Yamanashi said. Then is haunting considered a form of training? Zahu said. Yes, in our original plan, there was a plan for after-school adventures and the release of ghost Pokémon experiments. Dr. Yamanashi said. Then it's natural that the dormitory is haunted, right? Zahu said. What do you want to do? On the other end of the phone, Dr. Yamanashi's icy face changed slightly. It was no secret that the champion of Hone, Zahu, had a bad habit and maliciously trained his younger brother. Nothing. Training courage. Haunted house exploration. It's interesting. Dr. Yamanashi, when I arrive in Shitsuhara City, we'll have a good chat. I'm very professional in training. Zahu said. Then we'll talk about it when you come. Dr. Yamanashi hung up the phone, with a slightly complicated expression on his face. Did he make a wrong decision to let Zahu be a lecturer? Hesitating for a while, Dr. Yamanashi chose to pretend that nothing had happened. Malicious training is malicious. Anyway, the few younger brothers trained by this guy are not bad. These students won't be bad either. After hanging up the call with Dr. Yamanashi, Zahu set his sights on Rotom in the air. The dormitory is haunted. It seems to have always been a hot topic, and Jenga must have had a hard time staying in the dormitory. How wonderful life is. Rotom, do you want to talk? Zahu looked at Rotom and said. Talk? Rotom looked at his new trainer with strange eyes. He knew it was me at first glance, and he caught me so quickly, so his brain should be fine. Why are you talking nonsense? Zahu didn't think much, and took out his mobile phone and said, Rotom, play with my mobile phone. Rotom hesitated for a moment. It could improve its racial value, and learn new tricks, by using tools like washing machines, but it was useless to play with mobile phones. It was just the trainer's order, so Rotom had to obey. He jumped into the mobile phone, and the mobile phone changed automatically. A small head appeared on the tip, and then the mobile phone stretched out its limbs to the left and right, and a Rotom's face appeared on the screen. Rotom, can you talk? Zahu said. Lotto, what are you talking about? Mobile Rotom said to Zahu. Huh, you can't talk yet? My mobile phone clearly has a voice system, and you can use voice control to make human voices. Zahu said in surprise. Lotto, let me try. Rotom freely controlled the system in the mobile phone, but after a long time, a strange sound came out. Oh, look who's calling to send me a phone case. I'll pay the money. Do I need help? What? What are you talking about? Zahu was confused. What the hell are you talking about? Rotom, I don't know how to use this system. I don't understand the words on it. Rotom said. It can speak human language, but it actually uses mental control, not direct translation, and because you don't know the internal system language of the phone, you can't speak human language, you can only say the same garbled words as before. Zahu said. Rotom, you're right. Rotom said. So, it's not done overnight, it needs to be improved. Zahu thought. In the anime, the most impressive Rotom is the illustrated Rotom in Alola Sun and Moon. He lives in the illustrated Rotom, and because he has a pronunciation function, the Rotom who couldn't speak originally can speak. So after discovering Rotom, Zahu immediately planned to start making one, but he didn't expect that there would be an accident. No wonder it existed in SYNOPSIS, but the Rotom illustrated Rotom didn't appear until the Alola region. Rotom, do you want to speak human language? Zahu asked. Lotto, of course I do, Rotom replied without thinking. Of course he wanted to. The main body of this world is human beings, and it would be good to communicate with humans. Especially since Rotom likes to be close to humans, otherwise he would not deliberately play pranks. Okay, next, I will find a teacher to teach you well, and let a certain cat feel the danger of unemployment. Zahu threw a look at Lucario, and Lucario understood instantly, rushed out, and came back with a cat in one hand. Zahu casually took a piece of paper in the room, then picked up a pen and quickly wrote the 4 big words "Do not disturb" on it, and then posted it at the door. Research is the kingy way. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 486 Meow Meow in Crisis. Knock, knock. Kona knocked on the door. Zahu yawned and opened the door with a messy hair. Kona was shocked after seeing it and said, "What's wrong with you? I just dealt with the amusement park yesterday. I didn't come to see you for a day. How come it's like this? You're studying it more seriously. What's going on outside? Is there something wrong?" Zahu opened the door and ushered Kona in. No, the Mikali Cup is over, and even the battle performance between Zyossi and Mikali is over. The result is the same as you thought. Miko used Milotic to suppress Zyos's Latias throughout the whole process, showing the amazing charm of Milotic. Zyossi became the most harmonious supporting role. Kona said, "It's expected. Now they are gone." Zahu said, "Yes, they left 3 days ago." Zyossi and the other 4 continued their journey, and Zioao and Haoi returned to the city to continue the challenge of the gorgeous competition. Before leaving, they also asked you, the master brother, what happened? When can they come out of seclusion? Kona said, "It's not today." "What's the current situation of the amusement park?" Zahu said, "Very good, business is booming. When Zyossi opened the park, he performed with Zioao, Haoi, Xiaoguang, Xiaoxia, Xiaojaro and even Xiaoang. The 7 of them performed together. It was very gorgeous. When it opened, the number of tourists who came was beyond imagination." Kona said, "Really? It seems that my decision to open an amusement park was correct. Next, when can we launch some promotional animations? Doesn't Jigglypuff want to be a singer? It's a good opportunity to star in a movie. If it's suitable, Dream can also be done." Zahu said, "This is a good idea, forming an industrial chain. But are you sure you don't care? It seems that, since you set up the amusement park, you have only checked the accounts. You are serious about it, and the rest are very casual. You are almost a hands-off boss, and you are not afraid of being completely sidelined." Kona said, "It's okay. Anyway, the reason I originally set up the amusement park was just to find a job for the brothers of the Magna Team and the Aqua Team, to maintain a stable life. My original idea was not to lose money. Now it can make money, which is a pleasant surprise." Zahu said, "Yes, you are not interested in money." Kona said, "It's not that I'm not interested, it's just that the world is a balance of gains and losses. The more money you make, the more you have to worry about, the more intrigues and calculations you have to make. It's very tiring. And if you're too busy, you won't have any time at all, not even for researching Pokémon. A few tens of millions a year is enough to support you, me and our future children." Zahu said, "Yeah, a few tens of millions a year is enough. If Kajero and Meowth heard you say that, I hope you won't be beaten to death." Kona said, "But this is my current situation. Just renting the Mega Evolution Boulder to the Alliance earns 10 million a year, not to mention my patents. Moreover, I'm doing my doctoral research seriously, and my income is not less. I'm happy. Doing business every day is very tiring." Zahu said, "Is making money fun?" "Of course I am. One must have a good sense of Zahu's interest is Pokémon, his talent is in research, and making money through business is a bit average, so don't do stupid things. Life is so comfortable now. Being a hands-off shopkeeper is the life plan." "That's right. I also find it a little hard to imagine you being a boss." Kona smiled. "Have you come up with any research results these days? What are you researching? You're so secretive. You didn't even tell me, and you said it's a big change." That, I won't tell you. Let it greet you itself. Zahu said. It? Kona showed curiosity, and before he could ask, he saw a Pokémon illustrated book that looked like a tablet floating in front of him, smiling. Hello, beautiful girl. I'm the result of the boss's research these days. The most handsome Rotom in history. Illustrated Rotom. Lotto. Illustrated Rotom? Kona was slightly stunned, looked at Zahu and said, have you found a Pokémon that can speak human language? No, it's the ability of the Rotom family to control electrical appliances, and the illustrated book is one of them. And as long as the voice system is studied well, Rotom can speak freely. Zahu said. Free pronunciation, and all Rotom can do it. Kona realized something, and said in surprise, another great discovery. In this way, Rotom can speak both human and Pokémon languages. Wouldn't it be much easier for trainers to understand Pokémon's inner thoughts in the future? This is a new translator. That's right. Great discovery. I plan to write another paper. I don't think I will have to worry about the League's paper task indicators for a long time. In addition, I think the salary of a certain cat can be reduced a bit. Zahu said. Yes, the salary of a certain cat can be reduced appropriately. Kona looked at Meow Meow on the side with amusement. Boss lady, Meow Meow will be very good, can roll around, act cute, serve tea and water, make the bed, alright. Meow. Meow Meow looked at Kona with tears in his eyes. After Zahu learned the Pokémon language, its status was threatened. Now there is an illustrated Rotom, and it feels that it can't stay any longer. It just so happens that the amusement park also needs a lucky cat. From now on, you will be the lucky cat appointed by our amusement park. This will offset the salary problem of the translator. Kona said. Okay, I won't deduct money. It's fine to let Meowth do anything. Meowth said. But in this case, it will require investment to cultivate Rotom, and it will take a lot of time to prepare. Kona said. Well, I'll call Beacon later and ask him to find a way. Although Rotom doesn't have a fixed settlement, it can be found if you work hard. Zahu said. Okay, give me one after you make it. Kona said. It's necessary, but it's actually not very useful. If you need translation, I, Meowth and Zioluo can all translate. And you and your Pokémon have a strong bond, so you can understand most of the words. Zahu said. That's right. But it's always good to have a translator. And I can also give it to my parents. Kona said. That's right. Then let's take a look and spend some extra time to study. After transforming into the illustrated book, Rotom is not much different from the normal state. I will try to add an electric fan function to the illustrated book so that Rotom can have an extra air/trick, and we will have an electric fan when it's hot outside in the future. Zahu said. This is a good idea. Let's try it. Kona's eyes lit up. Also, Rotom's heat can be controlled. Let's try heating it. This way, we can also transform it into a heated Rotom and learn to overheat. Zahu said. What other forms does Rotom have? Let's try them all. Kona couldn't help but be interested in Zahu's words. Wait, didn't you ask me? Lotto. You are making things difficult for me, Lotto. Rotom complained. This is to try to make you more perfect. Think about your other companions and tribesmen. They can only have one form, but you can switch freely at once. Isn't it cool? Zahu looked at the illustrated book Rotom seriously and said. Illustrated Rotom, after thinking for a while, felt that what Zahu said made sense. After all, it was Zahu who was working hard, and when he was studying the machine, his body could just float away, and it wouldn't hurt. Okay, after packing up, we'll set off to Wetland City to get a gym badge, and by the way, see if there are any gorgeous competitions nearby, and earn a few more gym badges for Kajiro. Zahu said. I've been ready since early in the morning, just waiting for you. As for the amusement park, well, it's fine as long as Sakuraka is here. It really doesn't matter whether you're there or not. Kona said. Then wait for me to wash up and then leave. Zahu said casually, not paying attention to Kona's cheesing. Chapter 487 Wetland City. Wetland City, finally here. I miss it so much. Kajiro came to the big wetland in Wetland City, sighing with nostalgia, his face filled with a little happiness. Isn't your home in Kanto? Why do you feel like you're back home here? Zahu said. because my family also has a villa here. I often came here to play when I was a child. I also captured the fan cage here, Kajiro said. There is also a villa. Zahu looked at Kajiro with a little look. Listen, is it what people say? Yes, it's here. Kajiro said casually, squatting down and touching the wetland, and suddenly said, Boss, I heard from the old people in my family that the wet mud here has a very health preserving effect. Lying in it and taking a mud bath is good for the body, and it feels good. Do you want to try it? Not interested. Zahu said. Then can I try it? Kajiro said. Whatever. Zahu said. Kajiro's eyes lit up, and he took off his clothes instantly. In a second, he was left with only a pair of underwear, and then he lay down in the wet mud, his skin in close contact with the wet mud, revealing an expression of enjoyment. He also released a group of Pokémon, such as Fancage and Desert Nadia, and everyone enjoyed it together, lying on the ground in unison. Hey, I was just saying it casually, we still have to go to the gym competition. Zahu looked at the guys lying on the ground with a bad temper. Although the wet mud here in the wetland is indeed good for the body, it's really ugly for a group of you to lie here like this. Besides, the wet mud in the wetland is good for the body, but it's only in some places, not all. Boss, you said casually. I've been traveling for so long, and I'm exhausted. I need to relax a little. And boss, you challenge the gym, and we can't do anything except watching from the side. Anyway, boss, you will definitely win. Otherwise give me a holiday this time. Kajiro said. Holiday? Zahu muttered, and then saw Meowth and Rotom, who had been expressionless, quickly burrow into the mud and said, Fun. Rotom, what's wrong with you? Meowth has a body, so it's fine if she says it's fun, but your body is a machine, so how can it be fun? Wet mud is better than me adding some lubricant to you. Zahu said. I was just simulating the feeling that a normal creature would have after lying down, so I shouted in response. Rotom said. So, you plan to just simulate it like this? You don't plan to go with me to the wetland gym to challenge and see the Pokémon of the gym trainers? Zahu said. I collected too much data before, which caused my body to overheat. I need to rest and temporarily give up collecting information about the Pokémon of this gym. Rotom said. You and Meowth really have a common language. Although you have learned to speak human language, you can't help but add modal particles in the end, revealing your true nature. Zahu said. That's good, Lotto. Rotom said. Okay, that means no one will leave, right? Zahu said. Yes, boss, bye. Meow, Lotom, Meow, Kachiro, Rotom and a group of Pokémon said in unison. Zahu was speechless at the sight, and finally had to pull up Kona, the only one who was not attracted by the wet mud, and walk towards the wetland gym. Although Wetland City is a city, it is actually not very developed. In addition to the big wetland, the only famous place is the wetland gym, so Zahu and Kona found the wetland gym without much searching. As soon as they opened the door and explained their purpose, a big man suddenly jumped out and said, Challenger, you are finally here. Are you ready to challenge me? Zahu was startled by the man who suddenly jumped out. Judging from what he said, it should be the gym trainer of the wetland gym, Yoshikun. But this gym trainer is a bit weird. Zahu looked around and saw that his upper body was exposed. This was not a big deal. Many people in this world were like this. Moreover, Jixon had a strong upper body, showing obvious abdominal muscles, which made him look strong. But what was this 3-bar mask in the shape of a human figure on his face? Non-mainstream? Or a personal habit? Challenger, what is your name? Did you inquire about the wetland gym before coming here? Are you ready to challenge the wetland gym? Jixon continued. I'm Zahu from Pallet Town. I have made all the necessary preparations for the challenge. Zahu said. Oh, also from Pallet Town. Just yesterday, a boy named Zylzy from Pallet Town took the badge from me. Jixon said. That's my younger brother. Zahu smiled. He just came yesterday. How slow were Zylzy and his friends when they walked? They had obviously set out several days earlier than him. So you are brothers. I think the older brother's strength will not be bad. Don't lose to your younger brother. Jixon said. Okay. Zahu smiled awkwardly. This was the first time that someone told him not to lose to Zylzy. He felt funny for some reason. Okay, the game is about to start. Jixon jumped flexibly, jumped a few times, and jumped to the other side of the big pool. Then he said, "This is our competition venue. The rules of the wetland gym are 3-on-3. Gym trainers cannot change Pokémon. Only challengers have the right to change Pokémon. Is that okay?" "No, please." Zahu waved his hand. Before challenging a gym, he would naturally do some homework. The wetland gym, like the Cerulean gym, is a gym that focuses on water. Of course, their strengths are not comparable. Although Jixon, the gym trainer of the wetland gym, looks very unreliable, he is still good according to the evaluation. I will release the Pokémon first. Challengers, watch out, my Pokémon, Swamp King, come out. Jixon threw the Pokéball, a red light flashed, and the fat and slippery Swamp King jumped into the water. Swamp King, it's really a good Pokémon. Zahu nodded slightly and commented. Swamp King, like Swamp Jumper, is a Pokémon with both water and ground attributes, which perfectly overcomes the problem of being restrained by the electric type. Of course, every time challengers come to challenge the wetland gym, they always bring a bunch of electric Pokémon. So I have to use Swamp King to let them know that not all water Pokémon are afraid of electricity. Jixon said. But water plus ground is 4 times weaker than grass. Zahu's mouth curled up slightly, with a hint of evil. He threw the Pokéball and Parasaurolophus jumped on the pedal on the water surface, full of fighting spirit. There's actually a grass type. Jixon's smile froze immediately, and he was too proud. Parasaurus, prepare the sun blaze as the opening cannon. Zahu said. The mushroom on Parasaurus' head quickly absorbed the little eyes, brewing a terrifying attack. Chapter 488, The Battle of the Violent Generation. Young man, although the sunlight flame is extremely powerful, it takes a long time to accumulate power. It is not appropriate to use such a trick at the beginning. Swamp King, get close to Parasaurolophus, and then use the freezing ray. Jizan said. Swamp King under the water moved quickly. Although his body was a little bloated, his slippery skin made him agile underwater. The next second after hearing Jizan's order, he rushed to Parasaurolophus, jumped out of the water, and burst out of his mouth with ice light, about to hit Parasaurolophus. Seeing this, Zhihui showed a strange smile on his face. Did he think that the sunlight flame accumulated power would be foolproof? A bit naive. Parasaurolophus' iron tail hit the floating board. Parasaurolophus' tail shone with a bright white metallic luster, and it hit the floating board violently. Parasaurolophus flew in the air and directly avoided Swamp King's freezing ray. Jizan's face suddenly changed, and he hurriedly said, Swamp King, hide in the water quickly. Swamp King immediately took action, and dived into the water. Still want to escape? It's too late. Sunlight flame. Zhihui's face was cold. The Parasaurolophus' eyes were sharp, and the light on his head gathered. A strong beam of light gathered, and suddenly penetrated into the water like a long rainbow piercing the sun, and penetrated straight through. The energy column shot straight to the bottom, and the pool water was turbulent. A large blank space emerged in the center of the pool, and a large wave was set off. Although the Swamp King had escaped quickly, he was still hit by the power of the sun and flames, and instantly lost his ability to resist. After the pool returned to calm, the Swamp King floated to the surface with circles under his eyes. Swamp King, you have lost your ability to fight. The referee standing by was stunned, and couldn't believe that the game was over so quickly. After a long while, he made a judgment. Jizan was also surprised, but he soon laughed heartlessly and said, as expected of Zyos his brother, he is so strong. I have been a gym trainer for so long, but this is the first time I have lost so quickly. You deliberately let Parasaurolophus use Sunflame to attract Swamp King's attack, right? That's right. After all, Swamp King's ability to dodge underwater is too high, and the attacks of the grass type are not like the electric type special moves that can spread along the pool. So instead of bothering to find it, it is better to let Swamp King come to the door himself. Zahu said. Sunflame needs to be charged to be released. However, this is reality, not a game, and you have to take a round of attacks for nothing. For example, in the Orange Islands, when Uji's Bulbasaur was fighting Zyos' Kintero, he used Sunflame and Vine Whip to attack at the same time. So, stupidly not being able to attack is thinking too much. The only flaw is that collecting sunlight requires direction, so the position of the Pokémon basically cannot change too much, otherwise it will cause the collection of sun flame to be interrupted. But under the effect of Iron Tail, it is not a big deal. I'm looking forward to the next match more and more. Gyarados, come out. Yoshihiro tossed the Pokeball, and a Gyarados appeared on the water surface fiercely, roaring and intimidating Parasaurolophus. Gyarados, I really miss it. Zahu smiled. After the Bayang Town incident, he sent Gyarados back, and now seeing Gyarados again made him miss it a little. Okay, Parasaurolophus, come back first. Zahu picked up the Pokeball and took back Parasaurolophus. Although the battle just now was simple, it can be said that Zahu was in control from beginning to end, but this does not mean that Yoshihiro is really bad. Especially from the perspective of a gym trainer, he knows the weakness of Swamp Lord, so he learned the ice type trick that can restrain the grass type in advance, which can be regarded as a thorough consideration. So, who knows if he will let Gyarados learn the flying type trick. Although Gyarados can only learn 2 flying tricks in total, what if it happens? And Parasaurolophus is a grass type gauger, and if he is not careful, he will be seriously injured, which is very troublesome. Violent Salamander, it's time for you to come out. I'm really sorry that I'll let you out after fighting 4 gyms. Just make your first show at the Sinnoh gym, Zahu said. A red light flashed, and the huge body of the Violent Salamander appeared above the pool. Its 2 large wings fluttered, fanning out a gust of wind, stirring the pool water and creating ripples on the water surface. Gyarados looked nervous, feeling that the Violent Salamander was not easy to mess with, but it was born to be easily enraged. When it met a strong enemy, its first reaction was not to show weakness, but to roar more provocatively. Zahu smiled slightly when he saw this. The characteristics of Gyarados and Violent Salamander were both intimidation, and they both had violent tempers, which made it interesting to fight. Violent Salamander, Dragon Claw, Zahu said preemptively. Energy surrounded the claws of the Violent Salamander, and it slapped Gyarados hard. Gyarados, bite, Yoshihiko said. Gyarados roared, opened his mouth, and charged at the newt with illusory energy on his teeth. The dragon claws and the hard head of Gyarados collided violently, and a strong energy wave burst out, causing the water in the pool to shake violently again. The newt roared, and the power in his body was applied to the dragon claws. With a violent blow, the head of Gyarados was knocked off the side and directly hit into the pool, causing many waves. Newt, keep chasing, dragon claws, Zahu said. The newt flapped its wings and chased straight down, not caring about the saying don't chase a desperate enemy at all, and rushed directly into the water. Gyarados, Dragon's Wrath, Yoshihiro shouted. Gyarados twisted its body, and powerful force burst out from its body. The water in the entire pool quickly spun, forming a huge water tornado that trapped the swooping salamander. The salamander was caught off guard. The water tornado with dragon power kept washing over its body, and it kept causing damage. Zahu's pupils shrank slightly. One of the changes in Dragon's Fury, combined with the changes in water, was really a good combination. However, with such an attack, it was still impossible to defeat the salamander. Salamander, break free directly, Zahu said. Raw Gyarados roared to the sky, and its wings kept vibrating. A whirlwind formed in the water tornado, and finally the wings vibrated vigorously, tearing the water tornado directly. Just after breaking free from the water tornado, Gyarados suddenly jumped out of the pool, and its huge body rushed directly towards the salamander. The 2 teeth in its mouth transformed, and shone with large pieces of ice light. Ice teeth. 4 times restraint. Ji-Zan looked at Zhihui with pride. The power of 4 times restraint can be seen in the example of Parasaurolophus's Sun Flame that made Swamp King lose his fighting ability. Violent Salamander, Lightning Fang, Zhihui said calmly. Ji-Zan's proud smile froze immediately. Lightning Fang has 4 times restraint, so wouldn't that mean both sides will suffer twice as much? The 2 teeth of the Violent Salamander flashed with electric light, and the strong electric current spread outward along the field that had just become extremely wet due to the battle. The body of Gyarados that was attacking immediately felt numb and its speed slowed down. Then, the Violent Salamander swooped down and bit Gyarados' head first, then vibrated its wings, and swooped down again, rushing Gyarados into the water. The two teeth flashed with electric light, and exploded along the water flow, and the whole pool was filled with electric light. After a long time, the violent salamander flew out of the water again, and Gyarados surfaced with circles under its eyes, obviously losing its fighting ability. Chapter 489 Snorkeling Weasel. You've lost again, Zahoo. You're stronger than I thought. Especially the last Thunder Fang. Most electric Pokémon don't have such an electric current attack. Yoshihiko took back Gyarados, and looked at Zahoo. Although he lost both battles, it was obvious that Yoshihiko was not hurt at all. That's because my Gyarados has suffered a lot from electric moves, so when I practiced electric moves, I was very serious, so I have such power. Zahoo smiled. Raw Gyarados shouted at Zahoo in dissatisfaction, obviously resistant to Zahoo's exposure of its past. Okay, I won't say it, Zahoo said with a face full of laughter. In fact, after evolving completely and being able to fly freely in the sky, Gyarados' personality has changed subtly, and he feels that he can compete for a higher position in the team. Then he went to the Dragonite, the leader of the dragon type in Zahoo's team, without knowing the consequences. He said that everyone is the final evolution of the quasi-god, and no one is worse than the other. Facing the challenge of the tyrant, Dragonite expressed that he was very happy. Influenced by Zahoo, the unscrupulous master, Dragonite liked to train his younger brother. First, he prayed for rain, and then thunder. During that period, the backyard of the institute was full of thunder and Zahoo almost thought that some great god was passing the tribulation here. After enjoying the thunder bath, Tyrant deeply realized the gap between him and Dragonite, and became the #1 younger brother of Dragonite, while practicing electric type tricks hard. So there was the performance just now. Next, it's my last trump card Pokémon. Young man, how are you going to deal with it? Jixen Baoabikyu threw it, and a Snorkeling Weasel stood proudly on the floating board. Snorkeling Weasel? The evolution of Swimming Weasel. Zahoo showed a playful expression. Tyrant, do you still want to fight? Tyrant cried excitedly. Of course he had to fight. This was his first gym match after coming to SYNOPSIS. Of course he had to fight to the end. Okay, then take the initiative and use Dragon Claw again, Zahoo said. The wings of the violent salamander vibrated, and it dived away. The energy on its claws became virtual, and it slapped directly at the Snorkeling Weasel. Snorkeling Weasel, dive into the water quickly, Jixen said. The Snorkeling Weasel acted quickly, jumped up, and jumped into the water quickly. The violent salamander hit the float with a violent blow, only splitting the float into 3 pieces. Snorkeling Weasel, use bodybuilding, Jixen said. The Snorkeling Weasel was underwater, and the air sacs on its body swelled up to keep it afloat. Then it took a bodybuilding posture, and its strength increased rapidly in a wonderful way. Hiding underwater and using bodybuilding, you really have a way. Are you bullying me, the salamander, for not being able to go into the water? Zahoo grinned. Salamander, use the Dragon Claw again. Salamander quickly dematerialized the Dragon Claw energy and launched a fierce attack on the underwater Snorkeling Weasel. The Dragon Claw kept attacking the water surface, trying to catch the Snorkeling Weasel. Snorkeling Weasel, get out of the way. Jixen was calm and composed. As the trainer of Snorkeling Weasel, he was very confident in his trump card. With the flexibility of Snorkeling Weasel, it could move freely underwater, and Salamander's Dragon Claw could not catch it at all. Zahoo did not give any other orders. He believed that his salamander would not let him down. Catching fish underwater was world class, guaranteed by Meowth. The two trainers had sufficient trust in their Pokémon. This battle could be said to be a duel between the trust between the two trainers and Pokémon. Snorkeling Weasel moved quickly underwater, and Salamander chased closely. After a long stalemate, the newt found a breakthrough point and moved suddenly. The energy of the Dragon Claw became virtual, and it went straight into the water, breaking through the water layer and directly hitting the underwater Snorkeling Weasel. The Snorkeling Weasel was suddenly hit hard, and showed pain on its face. Then the newt's Dragon Claw energy burst out and directly grabbed the Snorkeling Weasel, and flew out of the water. The fish catching skills trained by Meow Meow were fully utilized in the duel. Seeing that the newt actually attacked the snorkeling weasel and brought it out of the water, Ji-san's face changed and he hurriedly said, "Snorkeling weasel, use ice teeth quickly." The snorkeling weasel's mouth flashed with ice, and ice condensed on the two canine teeth in front. It bit the dragon claw of the newt hard, and the cold air was pressing. The newt was in pain and had to let go. The snorkeling weasel acted quickly and jumped onto a floating board again. Jixon secretly breathed a sigh of relief. If 3 of them were easily solved in a row and the news got out, he, the gym trainer of the wetland gym, would really lose face. Although the wetland gym is a water gym, Jixon wants everyone to know that he, a gym trainer, is not a water gym at all. Snorkeling weasel, tide whirlpool. Jixon said. Snorkeling weasel raised his hands high, and a huge water vortex appeared out of thin air. Then the water in the entire pool was attracted by the water vortex and spun rapidly, attacking the violent salamander. Zahu's eyes changed slightly. Although gym trainers cannot change Pokémon and suffer from the rules, the gym's challenge venue is designed by the gym trainers. If the design is good, it can also bring a significant increase to the gym trainers. Jixon is obviously one of them, and he has fully exerted the power of the pool. In this case, let's break this protective shield first. Violent salamander, destroy death ray. Zahu said. The destructive power in the mouth of the violent salamander quickly gathered, flashing with golden light, and suddenly burst out. The golden light was dazzling and terrifying. A column of energy directly shot through the entire vortex, and the vortex quickly collapsed. Large pieces of water sprayed outward, and the entire battlefield was wet. The snorkeling weasel felt the water splashing all over the sky, and his body suddenly became light. The destructive death light that was originally unavoidable suddenly seemed to slow down in his sight. The snorkeling weasel jumped flexibly and actually dodged it. Let the explosion behind you today, and never look back. The snorkeling weasel was indifferent. Zahu showed a helpless expression. He had planned to blow out most of the water in the pool, but he forgot that the most common characteristic of the snorkeling weasel is that it swims freely. In rainy days, the speed doubles. Just now, the destructive death light blew up the vortex, and large pieces of water dropped into the sky and fell down, which was no different from rain. So the snorkeling weasel's characteristics were brought into play, and it escaped by luck. Snorkeling weasel, use Ice Fang again. Ji-san said happily. Since the destruction ray did not get rid of the snorkeling weasel, then this is his chance. After using the destruction ray, the body will be temporarily stiff and unable to move due to the strong reaction force. Anyone who has a little knowledge of Pokémon knows this. Snorkeling weasel jumped quickly and pounced on the storm salamander. The ice light in its mouth was cold, as if it wanted to bite a piece of meat from the storm salamander. Storm salamander, defend. Zahu said. The storm salamander's wings vibrated violently, and it slapped the side, directly knocking the snorkeling weasel into the water. The water that originally filled the entire pool was reduced by more than half, because of the destruction ray just now. The buoyancy was much less than before. The snorkeling weasel hit the bottom of the pool and immediately suffered considerable damage. How is it possible? After using the destruction ray, how can it still move? Ji-san said in disbelief. After the destruction ray is used up, there will be a strong reaction force, so most Pokémon will feel briefly exhausted and powerless after using it, but this short period of time can be reduced through later training until it disappears. Although my salamander is not at the point where it can ignore the side effects, it can still move its wings. After all, otherwise it can't even fly in the air. Zahu gave a kind answer and then said to the salamander, Dragon Claw, take care of it. The salamander, who had regained control of its body, received Zahu's order and attacked with a dragon claw without hesitation, hitting the unable to move snorkeling weasel in the pool with one blow, killing it. Chapter 490 Manon. Your strength has been recognized by me, and you can get the swamp badge of our wetland gym. After the game, Jixon admitted his defeat very calmly and gave away the gym badge, perfectly fulfilling the duties of a gym trainer. This is a good game, and the violent salamanders can also grow well. Zahu smiled. That's right, I didn't expect that I would lose 2 badges in 2 days, and I lost to a pair of brothers. It seems that my training needs to be strengthened. Jixon said. Zahu smiled but didn't say anything. This topic was difficult to follow, although he had some ideas in his mind. Because losing to a pair of brothers at the same time is not a big deal at all. All the trainers in Johto and the Battle Frontier lost. Fortunately, Johto didn't fight. The Pioneer Brain and the Battle Frontier still fought, but the result did not affect anything, except making Zyossi suffer a little. After all, that is Zyossi. If it doesn't work once, it will work twice. If it doesn't work twice, it will work 3 times. After 3 times, except for Zahu, his brother, and Alan in the original trajectory, basically nothing can't work. After all, 3 times the limit. Zyos's luck is great. Alan, hurry up. Finish the gym as soon as possible. We still have to contact Dr. Platano. A crisp voice suddenly sounded outside the door. Zahu raised his eyebrows slightly. Is this the real trouble? I just thought about Alan, and Alan is here. And who is this Alan? Alan, the Lone Ranger, is also looking for a companion to travel with. Curiously, I turned around and looked towards the passage and saw a man and a woman walking. The one walking a little behind was Alan, whom I hadn't seen for a while, and the one in front was a girl Zahu had never seen before, wearing a small hat. Her whole body was green, close to the natural style, and she was accompanied by the grass-type Pokémon Hallie, which Carlos prepared specifically for new trainers. Brother Zahu, you are here too? Did you get a gym badge? Alan saw Zahu and went up to greet him. Originally, he called Zahu Doctor, but after forming a doubles team with Zahu in the City of Enlightenment, at Zahu's request, he changed his name to the same as Zyossi and the others. Yes, the game just ended, and Zyossi also got a gym badge yesterday. How many gym badges have you collected now? Zahu said. 4. If you succeed in challenging the wetland gym, you will have 5. Alan said honestly. Really? That's better than me. You have 1 more. In addition, you haven't introduced me to your companion next to you? Zahu smiled. My name is Manon, and this is Harry-kun, my best friend. Without Alan's introduction, the girl next to Alan introduced herself lively, and even picked up Harry-kun next to her. Well, hello, my name is Zahu, and she is Kona. Zahu smiled slightly, introduced himself, and introduced Kona by the way. Alan, who was originally planning to introduce himself, saw Manon take the initiative to introduce himself, so he didn't need to say anything. His face was calm, even a little wooden. He didn't take Zahu's words that he was better than Zahu seriously. If Zyossi knew that he had collected 1 more gym badge than Zahu, he would probably be very proud. However, Alan, as a calm and rational child, knew that it would be difficult for ordinary people to collect gym badges, but for Zahu, it was not at all. If he hadn't traveled more and accompanied Manon to challenge the gorgeous competition, he could have collected all the badges in 2 months. By the way, Mr. Jackson, you don't have a spare Pokémon to fight Alan. Zahu said. I'm sorry, Challenger, my Pokémon has been injured in today's battle and needs to rest, so you can only come tomorrow. Jackson said. Okay, then I'll come tomorrow. Alan understood very well that a day earlier or later would not have much impact, and there was indeed a reason for it. Then let's find a place to eat with me. I'll pay for the meal. Zahu said. Alan did not refuse, and followed Zahu directly. It was not the first time that she had eaten with Zahu. There was nothing to be embarrassed about. Besides, he knew Zahu's wealth. It was just a little bit of a meal. On the way, Zahu and Alan chatted. Zahu had always had a good impression of Alan and thought that Alan was a child worth cultivating. During the period, Zahu also recalled the story of Manon. In the original animation, Alan's companion, and even Alan's girlfriend. However, because she appeared in a few episodes, and Zahu felt that the plot had been changed by himself, he thought that the probability of Manon appearing was not high, so he did not think about it at first. Now he thought it through after careful recollection. He could only sigh at the power of plot inertia. After finishing his meal at the Pokémon Center, Zahu looked at Alan on the 2nd floor balcony and was still training Pokémon in the courtyard. He couldn't help but smile. To be able to reach the level of the king at this age and be valued by Fladderly and become a senior cadre of the Flare team, whether it is innate talent or acquired efforts, he is a dragon and phoenix among people. After finishing a period of training, Alan looked up and saw Zhihui and greeted Zhihui. What are your plans next? ZHIHUI said. Just challenge the gym, collect badges, and wait for the Lily of the Valley conference to have a competition with Zyro ZHI and you, brother ZHIHUI. Ailan said seriously. Okay, I look forward to your strength. For this competition, I can tell you, in advance the lineup of my 5 Pokémon. The 6th one depends on the situation. ZHIHUI said. Brother ZHIHUI, don't let me win. Ailan said solemnly. You can rest assured about this, because my last Pokémon is Dragonite. ZHIHUI said. Dragonite? That Dragonite? Ailan's face changed, and he looked at ZHIHUI in disbelief. That Dragonite can compete with the Mega Evolved Rayquaza. It is a top existence even in the Champions League, not to mention the regional conference. Alan, there is another piece of news. I forgot to tell you. This Lily of the Valley conference is very interesting. Zyros met a trainer named Doko. He has 3 Pokémon, Darkrai, Latios, and Shaman. The remaining 3 are unknown, but if nothing unexpected happens, there should be a Cresselia, otherwise his Pokémon will not be able to sleep. Zahu said. 4 legendary Pokémon? Alan's face suddenly changed. Although he was not afraid of these legendary Pokémon, it was not a trivial matter to have 4 at a time. So far, except for Zahu, he has not seen anyone else who has it. Yes, don't you feel very exciting? In addition, Zyomeo and Shinji went to your hometown Kalos region last year and won the championship and runner-up respectively. It would be very interesting if you played against them. Zahu said with a smile. Kalos region champion and runner-up. Alan's expression was slightly surprised. He knew Zyomeo and Shinji, but he was not very familiar with them, so he didn't know that Zyomeo was the champion. Yes. By the way, next, if you have time, are you interested in being my assistant for a while? Zahu said. Okay. Ailan said. Why don't you ask me what I want you to do? ZHIHUI was surprised. Such a straightforward agreement was a bit unexpected. I believe that brother ZHIHUI will not harm me, and it will be good for me to learn from brother ZHIHUI. Ailan said. Well, after challenging the gym tomorrow, be my assistant for a week. ZHIHUI said. Chapter 491 Special Training. Green water and green mountains. Beautiful scenery. Zahu and his group, together with Alan and Manon, walked in the forest, chatting and enjoying the surrounding scenery. Wetland City was originally a famous city in the Sinnoh region that valued ecology. It was also here that Sinnoh planned to establish a natural hunting area. And Dr. Yamanashi chose this place for the lecture, so it would not be bad. After all, he is the only authority in the academic world that can be comparable to Dr. Oak, and it is not just talk. It's just a few days of lectures, but he has booked a field school, as well as lakes, valleys and other outdoor scenes. I can only say that Dr. Yamanashi is generous. Brother Zahu, you are finally here. Just as he walked to the school gate, Zahu saw Zyomeo running over. Zyomeo? You are here too? Zahu asked curiously. Yes, Dr. Yamanashi also invited me to come and assist in teaching. Zyomeo said. Assist in teaching. It seems that your performance has satisfied Dr. Yamanashi. Zahu said. Drive Yamanashi asked me to come and learn. I heard that brother Zahu was also coming, so I planned to come as an assistant. Zyomeo said. Assistant, that's perfect. You and Ailan cooperate with me and have some fun together. Zahu said. Play? Zyomeo blinked. Didn't they say this was a teaching lecture? Can we play too? Zahu smiled slightly and didn't elaborate. The teaching was mainly taught by Dr. Yamanashi. Zahu didn't plan to interfere in these aspects, but in addition to the normal knowledge teaching in this lecture, there were also some development education outside of knowledge. Zahu planned to take the lead. Under Zyomau's guidance, Zahu walked inside and met Dr. Yamanashi. Zahu, I'm finally here. I know everyone here, so I don't need to introduce them. Dr. Yamanashi leaned back in his chair and said. Yes, I know everyone, but I also brought a few assistants. Is that okay? Zahu said. The teaching staff here are basically from the Yamanashi Research Institute. The only one who is not, Kenji, is also an acquaintance. It's okay. Dr. Yamanashi glanced at the people around Zahu and nodded. except for Ailan and Manon. They were all expected, and Ailan had also seen him. It was just that Manon didn't know him, but since Zahu brought him, it didn't matter. Here is the list of invited college students. They will be here in about 3 days. You will host the freshman ceremony then. Dr. Yamanashi handed the student list to Zahu and said, I will host the freshman ceremony. That's fine. Zahu took the list and looked at the names of the freshmen on it with a strange expression on his face. Because it was a temporary training seminar and it only lasted for 7 days, there were not many people invited, about 30 or 40, which was about a class. And among these 30 or 40 people, Zahu knew 7 or 8 of them. Looking at these names, Zahu's expression was very playful. Freshman ceremony, isn't this just for the old hands to amuse the newbies? Think about it. Maybe we can come up with something new. Zahu smiled sinisterly, which made Kajero and Meow Meow shudder. Every time Zahu showed such an expression, they had to do hard work. Time passed quickly, and soon it was the day for the seminar to begin. A series of sharp footsteps sounded on the path in the woods. A group of 2 boys and 2 girls ran through the forest, eagerly running towards the lecture school. How long will it take to get there? Stop talking, Zyozzy, hurry up. It's all because you slept too late again. Needless to say, these 4 people are Zyozzy, Zyaksha, Zyagang, and Zyagwang. The reason why they ran so anxiously is simple. Zyozzy overslept. It was only when Pikachu gave him a 100,000 volt that Zyozzy woke up. Then, without even having breakfast, a group of people ran over here. Zyozzy ran all the way with his head down, and he was arguing with Zyaksha while running, so Zyozzy didn't look at the road and bumped into it. At this moment, a person on a small path next to him also ran anxiously. The 2 people bumped into each other and were knocked down at the same time, sitting on the ground. Who is it? It's you? The 2 people bumped into the ground at the same time, and they both questioned angrily, but when they saw each other clearly, they both showed surprised expressions. The person who bumped into Zyozzy was Zyoheo. Why are you here? Zyozzy asked curiously. I'm here to listen to Dr. Yamanashi's lecture. Are you here too? Zyoheo touched his butt and stood up. He was on a training journey. Compared with Zyozzy and the others, his journey was not as smooth, but he also grew up. Then Dr. Sakuragi called him, and he came here. After all, Dr. Yamanashi is also an authoritative doctor. Are you here to listen to Dr. Yamanashi's lecture too? At this time, a voice suddenly sounded next to him. Zahu and the others looked up and saw Zyudi holding a camera and taking a picture of the scenery. Zyudi, you are here too? Zyozzy was surprised. Zyudi nodded coldly. Because he had lost to Zyozzy, he was not as arrogant and disdainful to Zyozzy as he was in the early stage of the animation. However, his personality did not match Zyozzy very well, so he did not speak. As for why he came here to study, it was naturally simple. It was Dr. Yu's request. Since they are here, are Shinji and Zyomeo here? Zyozzy asked curiously. There will be a lot of people coming to this lecture. Zyagwang became curious and wondered if there might be his friends. I don't know if other people will come, but since Miss Zyagwang is here, I will come. As soon as Zyagwang finished speaking, a sinister voice sounded. Zyagwang shuddered and subconsciously hugged the Pokemon in her arms. This feeling was Coppin. Turning around, she saw Coppin holding his glasses with a gloomy expression. Hello. Zyagwang awkwardly found a way to greet him. After the doubles match in the City of Enlightenment, she also knew that Coppin was not a bad person. On the contrary, he was a very good person, but he just had a dark aura that made people feel uncomfortable, like encountering a ghost. Hello, Miss Zyagwang. But now is not the time to say hello. We are all here to attend Dr. Yamanashi's lecture. But there are only 4 minutes left before the agreed arrival time, and the distance is about 1,500 meters, so we have to run at a speed of about 6.25 m/s, otherwise we will be late. Coppin looked at his watch and said, only 4 minutes? Zyoz's face suddenly changed, and he quickly got up and ran towards the Pokémon school. I have to say that Zyozzy and his group have really good physical fitness. They really ran to the Pokémon school in 4 minutes. However, after they arrived, they were shocked by the scene in front of them. It was not the peaceful campus they imagined. The various obstacle courses were completely equipped for professional armed police training. Who are these prepared for? Aren't we here to listen to the lecture leisurely? Chapter 492. Scam. What's wrong with you? You're so late. In the school, a middle-aged man who looked like an instructor looked at Zyossi and the others and said rudely, "Ah." Zyossi and the others were suddenly yelled at, all confused. What's wrong? Now start calling the roll. The middle-aged instructor was still rude, picking up a roll call book and said, XIUD. XIUD was slightly stunned. Was he called? Where's XIUD? Is he dead? Or hasn't come yet? Seeing XIUD in a daze, the middle-aged instructor yelled at XIUD. Here, here. XIUD said weakly, and the cold expression on his face had disappeared. Then why didn't you say it just now? Are you deaf or stupid? The instructor said to XIUD. XIUD's expression darkened, but he didn't dare to speak. Zioheo was secretly happy. He still remembered the mockery of XIUD, but he just couldn't beat him, otherwise he would have fought back long ago. Zioheo. Zioheo was enjoying himself when the instructor called his name again. He was startled and reacted a little late before speaking. Here, here. I'm not full. You're stuttering. The instructor yelled at Zioheo again, and Zioheo's face suddenly darkened. Seeing this, the flame rabbit at his feet showed dissatisfaction in his eyes. He raised his leg and wanted to kick the instructor. However, just as he raised his leg, a sleeping salamander next to the instructor suddenly woke up, and a fierce light flashed in his eyes, which scared Flame Rabbit and made him jump and dare not move. Next, Zyossi. The instructor said. Here. Zyossi said hurriedly. After the previous lesson, he knew that he had to shout quickly. Why are you shouting so loudly? Can't others hear you? The instructor yelled again. Zyossi looked helpless, as if you were right, and didn't want to talk. Next, Zyadagang. The instructor began to call the names one by one. Then he scolded them one by one, and no matter how they answered, he would find faults. Only Zyadaguang and Zyaksha seemed to be spared, because they were girls. After the roll call, the instructor closed the manual, looked at Zyossi and his group with a look of disappointment, and said, the agreed arrival time is 9 o'clock, but you are 3 seconds late. Kaoping gently adjusted his glasses. 3 seconds late. No, the fastest Zyossi and his group arrived 1.25 seconds early, and the slowest me was only 0.25 seconds late, so where did the 3 seconds come from? However, after the roll call and the angry scolding just now, he didn't dare to say more, so he just let it go, so as not to be scolded. So now, everyone line up, and within 5 minutes, pass the obstacle training here, and get to the other side. The instructor said. 5 minutes? Zyossi and his group groaned in unison. Although everyone was in good health, 5 minutes was a joke. Even 10 minutes was unlikely. Also, you can't use the power of Pokémon during the training, so hand over all the Pokémon here. In addition, the ranking of the length of time to pass the obstacle determines the quality of your dormitory. The instructor added. Zyossi and his friends' faces suddenly changed. As young people with lofty ideals, they were all heading for the first place. They already valued the rankings, and now it involved the quality of the dormitory. They couldn't lose, especially the two girls, Zyaksha and Zyadaguang. Boys didn't care much about the accommodation conditions, but girls were different. Go here and hand in your Pokeballs. Pikachu and Leblanc go to Salamander. The instructor said. Zyossi and his friends all cooperated obediently and handed over their Pokémon to the instructor. Pikachu and Leblanc went to Salamander. Leblanc was frightened by Salamander and didn't dare to get too close to Salamander. Pikachu was very familiar with Salamander. In Zyos's words, Pikachu's personality was that he could make friends with anyone. Although Salamander tried hard to remain cool, he still smiled silly when Pikachu came over to say hello. Pikachu was stunned for a moment, then he was delighted. He knew this Salamander. He immediately showed a lovely smile and sat on Salamander's head. Salamander also let Pikachu do what he wanted. Seeing this, Flame Rabbit on the side blinked, first showing a trace of confusion, not understanding why Pikachu could sit on Salamander's head, then showing a trace of envy, and then boldly wanted to sit on Salamander's head. Noticing Flame Rabbit's action, Salamander's eyes became fierce, and 2 streams of hot air came out of its nose, which immediately frightened Flame Rabbit so much that it dared not move. Seeing this, Salamander lay down again. Pikachu is an old friend. He knew him when he was still a baby dragon, and he had protected him for a period of time. He could sit on his head, but where did you, a little rabbit, come from? You dare to sit on it? You are kidding. Pikachu and Salamander were reminiscing about the past. Zyozzy and his friends started their difficult training. Among the performances of the crowd, Zyozzy took the lead and ranked first. After all, he was the only one among all the people present who had received formal training. Although this formal training was a bit nonsense. Because this training was not for police officers, but for police dogs. When he was traveling, he met a Miss Junsha who trained Growlithe. Seeing a group of Growlithes well trained and easily subdued criminals, he had a problem with his brain and wanted to train Pikachu to be the same as Growlithe. When Miss Junsha was training, she asked Zyozzy to participate together, so Pikachu and Zyozzy spent a very memorable time. The instructor looked at the performance of a group of people, and a strange smile appeared on his cold face. After everyone passed, the instructor still scolded them all severely and asked them to go to the cafeteria for dinner. Zyozzy and his group didn't think much about it. Now they just wanted to stay away from this fierce instructor and go to find Dr. Yamanashi and others. Compared with the instructor, Dr. Yamanashi's face looked much more friendly and lovely. The food in the cafeteria was not bad. Zyozzy and his friends ate happily. It was the only thing they enjoyed since they came to this school. Zyozzy burped and listened lazily to his big stomach after eating 18 bowls of rice. Finally full, but not as delicious as Zyagang's cooking. Zyozzy said. Zyanagang raised the corner of his mouth. His good cooking skills were what he was most proud of. But what is this lecture about? Why is it like this? When I first came here, Zyanaksha said. Right, it doesn't look like a regular lecture at all. Dr. Yamanashi won't lie. Zyozzy complained. Since I came in, everything here has revealed a sense of weirdness. Kaoping raised his glasses and said. Is there a problem? Zyozzy and his friends felt something was wrong. They ran out quickly and saw that there was nothing in the courtyard outside except the original equipment, including Pikachu and Enma. The faces of the group of people changed suddenly, realizing that things were very different. They immediately dispersed and explored the entire school and found that apart from them, there were no living people, not to mention living Pokémon. Finally, in the hall of the teaching building, a note was found. Idiots, I've taken all your Pokémon away. Team Galaxy. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 493 Crazy Pursuit. All the Pokémon were deceived. The people just now were all fake. Pikachu and the others were all captured. After seeing the words on the note, the faces of the group of people suddenly changed. Thinking of being separated from their Pokémon, the group of people couldn't help but sweat. Don't be dazed. Let's go find it quickly. We should still be able to find it. Zyozzy said. As an old man who has traveled for many years, he is also an experienced person here. Although the rocket trio was directly dismantled due to the influence of Zahu's butterfly effect, Zyozzy suffered fewer twists and turns compared to the original animation, but with the halo of the protagonist, there are problems wherever he goes. He has encountered many troubles. He has also dealt with underground organizations in various regions. It will take a while to find it now. Does anyone still have Pokémon? Kaoping said. As a data stream trainer, calmness and rationality are his greatest advantages. A group of people looked at each other, all with helpless faces, and there were no Pokémon anymore. Don't worry. It's not easy to transport so many Pokémons together. If they are carried by manpower, they will not go far. If they fly away, the sky is a big target and there should be witnesses. If they are transported by a large truck, they will definitely leave tracks. Zyanagang, the oldest person here, thought calmly. Yes, no matter which method we use, we still have a chance to recover the Pokémon. Everyone must work hard, otherwise, our companions will really not be found. Xiaoguang said. We must work hard to find our Pokémon, and call the police to Miss Junsha. Xiaozi said to the people around him, infecting the group with his optimism, and asking everyone to work hard. I will go to Miss Junsha to call the police. Xiaogang said without hesitation. Okay, Xiaogang, you go. Xiaoxia said. Xiaogang nodded firmly, his expression solemn, and he was ready to go through fire and water. But he couldn't help but have a little star in his squinting eyes. Miss Junsha, I'm here. Xiaogang was intoxicated in his heart, but before the intoxication reached its peak, it suddenly fell. He felt like something was missing, and felt uncomfortable all over. By the way, Bad Frog is gone. No one is poking my kidneys. Xiaogang suddenly came to his senses, thinking about Miss Junsha, and felt a little bored for some reason, but he still ran quickly to the nearest police station to call the police. Everyone, don't be idle, go out and look for it separately. Ko Ping said. Xiaozi and his friends quickly took action, running quickly, running in all directions with the school as the center. Those who asked people, and those who looked for tracks. They tried their best to find the Pokémon that was cheated away. After running around for an unknown period of time, Xiaozi suddenly found traces of a large truck on a small road. He was immediately overjoyed and started running wildly. When he was about to run out of breath, he finally found a truck on a small hill, and two young men in camouflage uniforms, talking to each other. This job was really easy. It was so easy to get so many Pokémon. These teenagers are really stupid, a young man said. Yes, we pretended to be Dr. Yamanish's message and asked them to arrive a day early, and they really came stupidly, and they really handed over the Pokeballs when they said they would. They were so stupid, another young man said. Stupid people are doomed to die, but there are so many idiots here. We can continue to fool them in the future. The boss will definitely thank us when the time comes. The first young man said. Yes, that's it. The two young men said with a smile. Damn it. Xiaozi clenched his fists in anger, jumped out directly, and cursed. You two bad guys, return my Pokémon quickly. Huh. You actually found us. But you, who don't even have a Pokémon, still want to take back the Pokéball from us. You didn't bring your brain with you when you went out. A young man looked at Xiaozi in surprise, then with a look of contempt, took off the Pokéball on his waist, and released a 3-in-1 Magneto. 3-in-1 Magneto, 100,000 volts. The young man said. The blue current surged on Magneto's body, and a strong current shot towards Xiaozi. Xiaozi didn't care, and rushed directly towards the young man. The 100,000 volts naturally hit him without any suspense. However, under the strong current of Magneto, Xiaozi did not retreat, but gritted his teeth, and continued to rush towards the young man. The two young men were stunned. What kind of physique is this? He is really worthy of being the younger brother of an adult. He is as good as nothing happened to bear this 100,000 volts. It was during this time of days that Xiaozi directly broke through the constraints of Magneto's 100,000 volt current, rushed over in one breath, and rushed on a young man, wanting to beat and subdue him. It must be said that Xiaozi is still very fierce. Not to mention the excellent innate genes. Just saying that learning from Shiba is also excellent. One young man couldn't beat Xiaozi, and the other was stunned. Fortunately, he brought Pokémon, otherwise he would be a little overwhelmed. He immediately swung the Pokéball, and released a big Onix. Big Onix, charge. Another young man said. The Onix that came out of the Pokéball made a sharp, piercing sound from its mouth, and then it hit Xiaozi like a big truck, knocking Xiaozi away easily, and crashing into the mountain wall on the side, leaving a human-shaped pit. The two young men were stunned for a moment, wondering if they had been too ruthless. Just as the thought flashed through their minds, Xiaozi jumped out again with full energy, as if nothing had happened, and then charged at Onix. Onix's trainer was stunned for a moment, and then immediately commanded Onix to attack. After a dozen rounds of fighting, Xiaozi fell to the ground weakly, and then Onix also gasped. Onix's trainer wiped off the non-existent sweat and thought, where did this monster come from? Its physical strength was so outrageous. Although he didn't dare to be ruthless, Onix's impact force was not small. Fortunately, it fell down. Thinking of his work, the young man said coldly, "Useless guy, do you think you can beat us with this passion? You dare to come out without even a Pokémon? When we didn't find you just now, you should have sneaked into the truck and taken out the Pokéball. In that case, maybe you could still fight, and it wouldn't be like this now." After that, the two young men got on the truck with a cold and arrogant look and were about to leave. "Don't go," looking at the truck getting farther and farther away, Zyozzy gritted his teeth in anger. Thinking that he might be separated from Pikachu forever after this separation, Zyozzy burst into strength, looking at the path the truck left, and immediately ran upwards, below Fuji, watching the truck passing below, and directly sliding down a long steep slope, flying out, and then hitting the truck's compartment like a meteorite. The driver of the truck felt the car shake violently and almost lost control. Although Zyozzy felt his feet were numb, he didn't care about anything else when he thought of Pikachu. He lay on the front of the car and reached into the front driver's seat with one hand. The two people driving the car looked ugly. This guy was too fierce. They, two former senior members of the Magna team, couldn't do anything. He held it so tightly, not to mention it was difficult to get rid of it. Even if they could, they didn't dare to. Otherwise, if something really happened, their jobs would be ruined. The two people were thinking about it in their minds, and when they saw the lawn on the side, they suddenly came up with a plan. One of them released a Gulp Bat, which directly sprayed a cloud of black mist. When Gulp Bat used the black mist to confuse Zyozzy's vision, the other one suddenly turned the front of the car, threw Zyozzy to the lawn on the side, and then drove away. Chapter 494. You guys disappoint me so much. The sun was rising, and Zyozzy opened his eyes tiredly. Zyuksha, who was beside him, had already gotten up early and was packing her sleeping bag. After being left behind by the truck yesterday, Zyozzy rested for a while and then went after it again, but this time he didn't catch up. However, he met Zyuksha and went to look for it together. Finally, it was dark. Under Zyuksha's persuasion, Zyozzy chose to rest and planned to look for it the next day. "Zyozzy, let's go back to the lecture school first. Maybe Zyugang and Zyuguang have found it. Especially Zyugang has found Miss Junsha. Maybe he can find some clues." Zyuksha said. "Yeah." Zyozzy nodded, but Pikachu was not around, and he spoke weakly. Zyuksha felt distressed, but it was hard to comfort her. She was also heartbroken to be separated from her Pokémon, especially a duck that could only quack. He walked towards the lecture school in a daze, thinking that when he came yesterday, Pikachu was still with him, but now Pikachu is not around. Zyozzy felt even more pained. Pika in a trance, Zyozzy suddenly heard a familiar voice. His eyes lit up, and a surprised expression appeared in his eyes. He walked forward excitedly and saw a familiar yellow figure appear in front of him, with a smile on his face. He ran over excitedly and said, "Pikachu." Pikachu also excitedly rushed towards Zyozzy. Seeing that Zyozzy was injured, it felt so distressed. One person and one mouse hugged each other excitedly. Zyuksha saw Zyozzy and Pikachu reunited, and her face showed a happy expression. Although she didn't know how Pikachu came back, she soon thought of her Pokémon and looked lonely. "Coco." At this time, a familiar voice sounded, and then Zyuksha turned around and saw a yellow duck standing there stupidly. Zyuksha subconsciously showed a happy expression on her face, but when Coco Duck rushed over, she pretended to ignore it with a proud look. Zyozzy and Pikachu hugged each other tightly. After being moved for a long time, Zahu said to Pikachu, "Pikachu, how did you come back?" "Pika Pika." Pikachu pointed his little finger in the direction of the room. Zahu sat there calmly and waved to Zyozzy. "Brother, you helped me get Pikachu back." Zyozzy said happily. "No, it was my people who tricked Pikachu away," Zahu said with a smile. Zyozzy's happy smile froze immediately, and he looked at Zahu with despair, with disbelief in his eyes. "Are you my real brother? How could you cheat me like this?" Feeling Zyozzy's eyes, Zahu nodded firmly. "Yes, I'm your real brother, absolutely. Even if it's fake, I won't change it. Wait a little longer, the others should come back one after another, and then I can give you scores," Zahu said. "Score? Score?" Zyozzy and Zyuksha were confused. By the way, Zyozzy, you and Zylaksha were alone yesterday. It was a dark night, the weather was hot, and you were so passionate, but nothing happened? Zahu said. Ah. What happened? It's not the first time. Zyozzy looked confused. Zylaksha, who had been listening to Zahu's words and blushing, heard Zyozzy's words, and the little bit of feminine tenderness that she had finally burst out disappeared in an instant. It's more fun to beat Zyozzy. I still have some money for the bicycle. Beat another one, otherwise I won't be able to get rid of this anger. Look, these are the two guys I told you about. Do you feel lucky now? Zahu looked at Manon next to him and said. Manon looked at Zyozzy, then looked at Alan, nodded, and suddenly felt very lucky. Really? So if you like her, take her down, as soon as possible. Alan is a pretty good girl, you should take action when you should. Don't be soft-hearted. He didn't refuse you to follow her, which means he assumes that you are his girlfriend. Zahu said. Really? Alan? Manon looked at Alan with starry eyes. Alan had a cold face and said nothing, but he looked at Zahu with a little resentment. At the beginning, before he met Zahu, he gave Zahu a lot of glory in his heart, thinking that the youngest doctor must be extraordinary. Later, when they met for the first time in the Silver Conference in Johto, he felt that Zahu had a gentle personality and was a very reliable elder brother. Later, the unpleasant things that happened in the Hone region with the Flare team refreshed his impression and made him feel the other cold side of Zahu. However, he also admired him in his heart and his image was still majestic. Until recently, he talked about his relationship with Manon. Those who knew would say that this was the youngest doctor in the league, the youngest champion, and based on what he had done, it would not be a big deal, even if he just rested on his laurels. But those who didn't know would definitely label Zahu as a bad uncle. The tall and majestic image was shattered in an instant. Zahu sat leisurely, waiting for everyone to come back, and then watched the Pokémon reunite one by one. Finally, when everyone was there, Zahu cleared his throat and looked at the group of people and said, you should have guessed it. That's right, what happened yesterday was all my design, all fake. Although they had guessed it long ago, after really hearing Zahu's words, everyone's face changed, even Xiaoguang's face changed a little. Parting with Pokémon is not a joke, it's scary. Why? We are here to attend the lecture, not to be played by you. Xiaoheo asked directly, and also represented the voice of a group of people. Because, what happened yesterday was a test of some size. I wanted to see how your foundation is, but the result disappointed me. When Zahu said this, his face sank, and his whole temperament changed, like a tiger in the mountains scanning the group of people. The group of people were immediately frightened and dared not say more. Among the students, invited by Dr. Yamanashi this time, you are all traveling, so I specially gave you this test, and asked you to come early, but the result was disappointing. With your current vigilance, you may be easily deceived by others, to take away your Pokémon. Zahu said. Ahead of time. Zyozzy was surprised. Yes, in advance. In fact, in addition to you, there are students who are traveling. I also sent messages to them, but they didn't come. Because they saw clearly that the message sent to them was not sent by Dr. Yamanashi, so they contacted Dr. Yamanashi, and Dr. Yamanashi said no, so they will not arrive until 5 o'clock this afternoon, and none of you went to find Dr. Yamanashi. Zahu said. Zyozzy and his group of people's faces suddenly became colorful. Kaoping adjusted his glasses and secretly blamed himself. He thought that it was Dr. Yamanashi who invited him, so his vigilance was greatly reduced. In addition, he happened to have something to do that day, so he didn't ask again. You are not flowers in a greenhouse. There are many ways to become a Pokémon trainer. One is to study in school, and the other is to travel. Since you have chosen to travel, you must be mentally prepared to deal with various risks. Unfortunately, you didn't. You foolishly let yourself be deceived, and then foolishly had your Pokéball taken away. Where did your brain go? Zahu said bluntly. That's because we believe in Dr. Yamanashi. And if you are not a member of the lecture, how do you have our contact information? Zod said unfairly. Is it difficult to have your contact information? Dr. Yamanashi's school is here. I just need to find out the situation, and then go down the mountain, in advance to get some Pokémon test. It is said that it is Dr. Yamanashi's intention. Will you be on guard? Zahu asked back. Zioda's face suddenly changed, and he was speechless. When you travel, don't just think about how beautiful the world is. There are many tricks of scammers in this world. You should be thankful that you live in Sinnoh. The underground organization Galaxy team in Sinnoh is not very interested in these sneaky things. If you were in Kanto, the territory of Team Rocket, your Pokémon would have been cheated away long ago. At this point, Zahu glanced at Xiaozi and the other two. You are from Kanto, and you can't even defend against this trick. Xiaozi and the other two lowered their heads in shame. The others also had an uneasy expression. Yesterday you experienced a day of separation from all your Pokémon. How was it? Did you feel good? Zahu said. A group of people stammered. Of course they felt bad. If you don't have this kind of awareness, then yesterday's feeling is likely to come true in the future. Don't have any fluke mentality. If you are really cheated, how can you get it back? Do you want Dr. Yamanashi to compensate you? Or give you new Pokémon and don't want the old ones? That's also good, right? Zahu's voice became increasingly harsh. Xiaoguang, Kaoping and the others all lowered their heads. Of course, it was not good. The Pokémon that they had cultivated had already been cultivated with great effort. No matter how good the new one was, it was still unfamiliar. Xiaoheo fell into thinking. He wanted to change to a new one. Fennekin was not good, but the others seemed to be okay. He could just catch them again. Think about it carefully one by one. You are really too bad. Now I will give you the score for yesterday. Xiaogang, 70 points. Kaoping, 68 points. Xiaoxia, 62 points. Xiaozi, 59 points. Xiaozi looked up suddenly when he heard his score 59 points. What does it mean? After reporting everyone's scores, Zahu said, okay, the freshman exam is over. Those with scores below 60 must clean the entire school before 5 PM. Otherwise the punishment will come one after another. Xiaozi and the others looked grumpy. Cleaning the entire school was no joke. Xiaoheo even wanted to run away. He came to listen to the lecture, not to work. Moreover, if he knew Zahu was there, he would not come. He could feel that Zahu did not like him very much, just like he did not like Zahu very much. Of course, you can leave too. I won't stop you. You don't have to work if you leave, Zahu said casually. Xiaoheo's eyes lit up, and he was about to leave, but he found that the others were actually preparing to work honestly, so he stopped immediately. He didn't dare to be the first one to be shot. Xiaozi and the others worked quickly. Xiaozi was not to be mentioned. Xiaoguang would not leave, even if she really felt that Zahu did something wrong. Besides, she felt that Zahu was right. She was too naive. If she was really separated from Pokémon and curly ears forever, she didn't know what to do next. Didn't she come here to learn? Now she has learned. Xiodi was almost the same. Although he didn't have a good impression of Zahu, he felt that Zahu was right. He was weak because he was deceived by Pokémon. He should clean the house. He came here to be a student. It was natural for a student to clean the house. Dr. Yamanashi on the second floor witnessed all this. His face was still as stiff as before, and he didn't smile. However, there was an inexplicable smile in his eyes. He didn't know that Zahu would actually give this group of traveling trainers such a big gift, which was contrary to his original intention, but he didn't object. These traveling trainers are different from the other students at home. They need to experience the wind, frost, and rain. If they are not destroyed here, if they are really destroyed in the future, no one will return the Pokémon. Chapter 495 Nothing to do at night. After a whole afternoon of hard work, a group of people finally cleaned up the place. The following students also successfully registered. Because it was late, and Xiaozi and the other cleaners were already weak, so Dr. Yamanashi did not assign any more tasks, and asked everyone to have a good rest, and start formal study tomorrow. After Xiaozi, Xiaoxia, Xiaoguang, and Xiaogang returned to the dormitory, they looked up and fell down. This was also a small privilege given by Zahu. The four of them were arranged to live in the same dormitory, so they didn't have to sleep with others. It's finally over. Xiaozi lay on the bed with a look of relief, and Pikachu also lay on his stomach exhausted. When Xiaozi was cleaning, it also picked up a small broom, and cleaned very seriously, so it was weak. Xiaogang and I didn't say anything. You failed. Don't say anything. Xiaoxia said unhappily. Although, those who passed, don't have to clean. But we share the happiness and the difficulties. Xiaozi and Xiaoguang were both punished, so how could Xiaoxia and Xiaogang stand by and watch? Especially Xiaogang, this housework expert with wife attributes. How can he bear to see things like cleaning? I'm sorry, I'll try harder next time. Xiaozi said. It's not necessarily hard work, I really failed. Xiaoz is 59. I think it's because Brother Zahu sincerely doesn't want you to pass. Xiaoguang said. By the way, Brother Zahu seems to have set up special exams for each of us. What are your exams? Xiaoxia said. When she and Xiaozi met, they exchanged messages with each other, but Xiaogang and Xiaoguang didn't know. I don't know either, but it was really strange yesterday. Miss Junsha actually asked me out on a date, but because the bad frogs are gone, I refused. Xiaogang said. Refused. Xiaozi and the other two sat up at the same time, looking at Xiaogang in disbelief. Is this still the Xiaogang we know? He actually refused Miss Junsha's invitation. Was he switched? What's the matter? Xiaogang looked at the people and said, although the beautiful big sister is very good, I can't just ignore my Pokémon. And you three, if you leave me, it's easy for you to be unable to take care of yourself, okay? I'm taking care of you. No. Xiaoguang smiled awkwardly and told what happened to him. What kind of test will Brother Zahu use next? Xiaoxia said. I don't know, but there shouldn't be one today. We can have a good rest. Xiaoguang said. That's right, but speaking of it, I'm really looking forward to it. Xiaoxia said. Yes, although I was treated badly yesterday, I really learned a lot. If it wasn't Brother Zahu's plan, but someone else's plan, we might not be able to get our Pokémon back. Xiaoguang was scared when he thought of what happened yesterday. That's right, I feel much more relaxed when I came to Sinop and I'm no longer on guard against Pokémon. Xiaoxia said. By the way, I heard from Brother Zahu that the Kanto rocket team often does this kind of thing. Is it true? Xiaoguang asked curiously. Yes, the rocket team in Kanto is a very bad organization. Just like Pokémon Hunter J, many of them have had conflicts with us. The most common ones are a woman named Yamato and a man named Kosaburo. We have seen them selling harmful Pokémon several times, and we have exposed their conspiracy. Xiaoxia said. It's so interesting, tell me more. Xiaoguang said with a curious look. Xiaoxia did not hide anything and told Xiaoguang about some things in her previous travels, which Xiaoguang listened to with relish. There are so many tricks to deceive people. Xiaoguang couldn't help but sigh after listening, but after sighing, he felt something was wrong. After experiencing so much, how could he still be so easily fooled? I neglected it. Looking at Xiaoguang's eyes, Xiaoxia also knew what she was thinking, and her face turned red and smiled awkwardly. I think it's because Brother Yamato is smarter than them. He ran away after robbing and didn't want more. Xiaozi said. That's right. Xiaogang nodded. The IQs of both sides are basically not on the same level. A group of people talked and chatted, and the sky was getting darker and darker. They were ready to fall asleep and also thinking about dealing with tomorrow's lecture. Pikachu also went to sleep in Xiaozi's small bed. It was also very tired from today's work. But not long after it fell asleep, two green lights suddenly burst out from under the bed, and a sinister laugh came out. Pikachu felt something was wrong, opened his eyes, and saw the scene in front of him. He was so scared that he jumped 3 feet high and almost knocked Xiaoxia, who was on the upper bunk, down. In panic, the electric current in his body could not be controlled, and a 100,000 volt burst out. Poor Xiaozi and Xiaoxia, who were sleeping soundly, were also innocently affected, and woke up with twitching all over. Xiaozi and Xiaoxia were just awakened by the electric shock, full of anger, but before they could vent, they saw the UFO next to Pikachu. The two were immediately scared out of their wits. Xiaozi rolled off the bed directly, and Xiaoxia fell off the upper bunk in an exaggerated way. Fortunately, Xiaozi was cushioned underneath, so nothing happened to him. It was just that Xiaozi's butt hurt and his head hurt. However, neither of them cared about these things now. They woke up Xiaogang and Xiaoguang and planned to run out. Xiaogang and Xiaoguang were also awakened by the loud noise. They put on their shoes and prepared to run. The four of them rushed out of the room in a panic, but saw that the scene in the corridor was even more gloomy and terrifying. A purple color, as if they had arrived in hell. It was almost the same as their previous memories. Before they could figure it out, a bunch of electrical appliances suddenly flew out from behind, like ghosts. What is going on? Xiaoxia tried hard to make her voice sound less scary, but she couldn't control it. I don't know. Is this my brother's design? Xiaoxi forced himself to be calm. I remember that this school is the 101 Pokémon school. Xiaoguang seemed to suddenly remember something, and said in panic. 101 Pokémon school? What is it? Xiaoxia asked hurriedly. It was a very famous Pokémon school in Sinnoh. Many people went to school. My mother wanted me to go to school when I was a child, but later it suddenly closed down. The specific reason seems to be that it was poorly managed, but there are also rumors that it is haunted. Xiaoguang said with a pale face. Haunted? Xiaoxi and Xiaoxia's faces changed. At this time, a group of electrical appliances floated over, which scared the group of people even more. Pikachu opened the way with a fierce 100,000 volts and repelled the group of electrical appliances. Repelled? Thank you, Pikachu. Xiaoxi thanked. Pikachu patted his chest, looking like he was in charge of everything, and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Ghosts and ghosts, even this Pikachu was afraid of them. Before he could completely relax, Pikachu suddenly felt a chill on his back. He turned around and saw a mechanical creature he had never seen before. It was staring at something like an electric fan and trying to get closer to it. Pikachu was startled and ran over quickly, pulling up Xiaoxi's trouser legs, trembling. The mechanical creature showed a strange light in its eyes and continued to approach Pikachu. Pikachu ran away again. What is this thing? Why is there no information about it in the Pokémon Encyclopedia? Xiaoguang was shocked. There was no information about it in the encyclopedia. It couldn't be a ghost. Maybe it's a special Pokémon. Xiaoguang said, trying hard to make himself believe it. Otherwise, if it is a ghost, it would be very scary. No, ghosts don't have shadows. It's not a ghost. Xiaoxi suddenly stared at a small shadow under the mechanical creature and said, how do you know? You haven't seen it. What if ghosts have shadows? Xiaoxia said, ghosts don't have shadows. It's a legend. No one has seen it. No, I have seen it. I have been a ghost. Xiaoxi said very confidently. Back then in Lavender Town, his soul had left his body, so this is not a ghost. Xiaoguang patted his chest. It's good that it's not a ghost. It won't be so scary. It must be my brother who tricked me. Xiaoxi said affirmatively, and then said to Pikachu, Pikachu, use 100,000 volts. After confirming that it was not a ghost, Pikachu was not so panicked. A dazzling yellow electric light column burst out from his small body and crashed directly into the unknown creature in front of him. The unknown creature's body stiffened for a while and then showed a comfortable expression. It was fully charged and comfortable. Ineffective? Pikachu, you Cyan Tail again. Xiaoxi said. Pikachu acted quickly, and the spring tail shone with a bright white metallic luster, and then hit the unknown creature hard. With a sudden collision, the electric fan broke directly, and the unknown creature fell to the ground, and then a Pokémon surrounded by plasma flew out. The Pokémon illustrated book that Xiaoguang had been holding in his hand finally showed its effect at this time, and answered online. Rotom, an iron Pokémon. It is a Pokémon formed by ions. Its body, like electricity, can enter certain household appliances. It really is a Pokémon. Xiaoguang breathed a sigh of relief. And it must be my brother who tricked me. Xiaoxi said. I'll go to class tomorrow and seek revenge on Brother Zahu. Now let's talk to this Pokémon first. Xiaoxia smiled and released Gyarados. Thinking of how Rotom scared her so much that she fell off the bed, Xiaoxia's expression collapsed and became as ferocious as Gyarados. Rotom's expression suddenly changed and he lost control of himself. Chapter 496. The first lesson. The sun rises in the east, and the sunlight shines into the dormitory. Except for Xiaoguang, the other three of Xiaoxi and Xiaoxi are still immersed in a wonderful dream. Rotom's expression is numb now, and there is no spirit in his eyes. Now there are only 3 questions in his mind. Who am I? Why am I here? What happened yesterday? Pick a little warm-hearted Pikachu walked to Rotom and patted Rotom, saying, "Good boy, it's okay, don't cry, I'm here." Although he was also scared yesterday, Pikachu has the same personality as Zyozzy, optimistic and cheerful, kind and lively, even to the point of repaying evil with kindness. Seeing Rotom like this, he automatically changed into an Annie vest. Lotto Rotom threw himself into Pikachu's arms, tears in his eyes. It has not woken up from yesterday's nightmare until now. What happened yesterday? Didn't I come to scare people? Why is it like this? They are so scary. Especially that woman. She is scarier than Gyarados. After a while, a group of people woke up one after another, brushed their teeth, and washed their faces, and reported to the large open space in front of the classroom. "Did you sleep well last night?" Zahu looked at the group of people with a playful smile on his face. Half of the people in the crowd didn't understand. Half of them looked at Zahu with resentment, and Zyozzy and the others looked angry. "What are you looking at me for? I told you yesterday that brave people live in the dormitory building on the left, and timid people live in the dormitory building on the right. Aren't you prepared?" Zahu said. "Huh? Is that true?" Zyozzy's expression suddenly became embarrassed. "I asked Meow Meow to tell you when you were eating yesterday," Zahu said. Zyozzy looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle, as if it was possible that this was really true. Zyozzy 3 voices like a volcanic eruption sounded behind Zyozzy. Zyozzy shuddered and said quickly, "Brother, what should we do next?" "Here, you have to call me teacher during class," Zahu said. "Oh, teacher," Zyozzy said. "Now, let me tell you about the work in these 7 days. First, we will have a group competition. All of you will be divided into 3 groups, red, blue, and green. Then, based on your usual performance, the overall score will be calculated, and finally the best group will be selected. The list will be posted later. During these 7 days, the school's highest principal is Dr. Yamanashi, and I'm the Dean of Studies. I will also be responsible for some of your teaching courses, as well as nighttime dormitory checks and your safety work. At the same time, I have 2 assistants, Ailan and Zyomao, to assist me in management. You can call them tutors." "Tutors? Tutors?" Zyozhi looked at Zyomao and Ailan next to Zhihui in astonishment. He accepted calling Zhihui teacher, and he could tolerate calling Ailan reluctantly, but he would rather die than Zyomao teacher. "We grew up together from childhood to adulthood. Why are you a teacher and I'm a student? I don't accept it." Zyomao glanced at Zyozhi proudly. "Don't accept it? Is this what you have the final say? If you have the ability, you can be a teacher too." Zyomao, who originally felt very happy to come here to study, felt that he was right to come after seeing Zyozzy's expression. Zyozzy clenched his fists and wanted to protest, but under Zahu's gaze, he finally retreated and obediently accepted the grouping. "Okay, next, hand the microphone to our principal, Dr. Yamanashi, and let Dr. Yamanashi speak." Seeing that Zyozzy was honest, Zahu said a few more words casually, and then let Dr. Yamanashi, the initiator, speak. Finally, the first class originally scheduled in the Pokémon lecture randomly selected a Pokéball, and then got along with unfamiliar Pokémon and made friends. This will promote the friendship between trainers and Pokémon, and improve themselves in all aspects. Zahu said that he didn't care about Zyozzy, but he couldn't help but glance at Zyozzy a few times, wanting to see which Pokémon Zyozzy randomly drew. The result made Zahu laugh. "Raichu. It is common and rare, but it is definitely a very special Pokémon to Zyozzy. Because Zyozzy has the hope of catching all the Pokémon in the world, even Arceus is no exception, but the probability is so low that it can be ignored. However, it is hard to say that Arceus will not suddenly like Zyozzy and decide to walk with Zyozzy for a while. The only thing is that Zyozzy will never have Raichu in his life, who makes it the evolution of Pikachu. Taking this opportunity, Zyozzy can become the trainer of Raichu for a short time. For this guy, it can be regarded as a dream come true." Zahu shook his head. "The next thing is to let the trainer and the Pokémon they just met get familiar with each other. Zahu can't intervene in this process. After borrowing Mew from Kona, He walked to an empty grove next to the school. Then he assembled it artificially and put together a plum blossom pile for people to stand on and some attack equipment. It was like a posture for training martial arts masters. Scaled dragon, get ready for training. Zahu released the scaled dragon on the plum blossom pile. The scales on the scaled dragon trembled, making a strange rhythmic sound, like a war song. Zahu gave a look to Menghuan next to him, who immediately understood. The mysterious power in his body was activated, and the surrounding force field changed immediately, and the gravity doubled directly. It can be called the ultimate move of the Forbidden Air technique. However, doubling the gravity also has a unique effect on training Pokémon, especially fighting Pokémon like Scale Armored Dragon. Scale Armored Dragon, move towards a higher and stronger goal, exert the dragon power in your body, and improve the speed and reaction of your body. Zahu encouraged. After swallowing Arceus's life gem, plus the innate racial bloodline, the current Scale Armored Dragon can be said to have a talent that is not inferior to that of a first level mythical beast. However, such talent potential needs to be excavated, and it should be excavated as soon as possible. Because the life gem is not his own, but Arceus's. Although he doesn't know when Arceus will wake up and find him, it shouldn't be too far away. At that time, the life gem must be returned. Although it has infinite power and is of great benefit to Scale Armored Dragon, if it is handed over to the Alliance, Zahu can really live a generous retirement life, but this thing cannot be black. Let alone the consequences. Zahu simply couldn't afford the wrath of the creator god Arceus. God knows what will happen to the world at that time. Even if the slate is incomplete, Arceus, who has fully awakened, is still the top Pokémon. He can beat Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina alone. Just to say, Zahu can't live with it. Arceus created the world, destroyed the meteorite, and saved the world again. This merit is really great. How can you blacken someone else's things? In addition, it's too tragic, being repaid with hatred. Zahu doesn't bully honest people. So before being found, fully tap the potential of Scaled Dragon and quickly cultivate it. Chapter 497. Field Training. Quiet Forest. The Scaled Dragon stood on the plum blossom pile. Lucario, Parasaurolophus, Entry, Violent Salamander, and Bangira stood in different positions and used energy attacks. Wave missiles, energy balls, jet flames, dragon waves, evil waves. 5 attacks with completely different attributes changed and attacked the Scaled Dragon from different directions. Fixed on the plum blossom pile and subjected to changing attacks, the Scaled Dragon's pressure doubled and it almost dodged by brushing against the energy bullet. It just used its arm to deflect the wave missile, and before its tail could shake off the energy ball behind it, a flame came from the left and shot directly at the Scaled Dragon's waist. The Scaled Dragon was covered by the flame before it could react. The Scaled Dragon roared and its scales trembled, producing a strange rhythm, like the music of ancient sacrifices. The sound wave stirred and shook off the flames on its body. Although the scales on its body had some scorch marks, after being burned by the fierce fire, they were brighter. The sound was heroic, like the rumble of a war drum, stimulating the blood all over the body. The right hand of the Scaled Armored Dragon absorbed the flow of fist power, violently hit the dragon wave of the Violent Salamander, and tore the dragon shadow. Bangila's evil wave attacked mercilessly, and the purple-black energy wave burst out evil power, directly hitting the Scaled Armored Dragon. The Scaled Armored Dragon stumbled and fell off the plum blossom pile. Zahu, who had been watching from the side, frowned worriedly, revealing a bit of concern in his eyes. But the fragrance of plum blossoms comes from the bitter cold. If you want to become stronger, you must go through such pain. All Zahu can do is to formulate the most suitable training plan for the Scaled Armored Dragon, give the best care after training, and accompany it throughout the training process, and give spiritual support. The Scaled Armored Dragon saw Zahu, who had been accompanying it, and his eyes were determined. It wanted to become stronger, not to let Zahu down, and to seize this rare opportunity to become stronger. If it cannot use the Dragon-type Stone Tablet in the Life Gem to transform itself during this period, then it will be just an ordinary scaly dragon among the scaly dragons. At most it will be considered stronger. Zahu has told it all these. It wants to become stronger. A powerful force suddenly rose from the abdomen of the scaly dragon, filling its entire body. An extremely dangerous aura emerged, and the Pokémon around it, who were originally a little impatient, felt a threat, especially the violent salamander. As a dragon type, it inexplicably felt a sense of submission when facing this power. Its sharp claws grasped the ground impatiently. When faced with this power, the weak Pokémon succumbed to their instincts and chose to surrender, while the strong Pokémon wanted to resist when faced with this power. If it weren't for knowing that this power belonged to its own dragon, the violent salamander would have pounced on it and fought. The muscles of the scaled dragon arched, and the energy beam accumulated in its mouth. After a while, a large piece of golden light burst out of its mouth, rushing into the sky like a cannonball, and then bursting out like a fairy scattering flowers, turning into meteors, and smashing in all directions. The faces of the 5 Pokémon of Lucario suddenly changed, and they all used their means to resist. The strength of each other was also revealed at this time. Yandy spurted out a mouthful of flames, offsetting the meteor bullet, and then lay down lazily. Lucario flexibly unloaded the force, and with a wave of the alloy claw, he lightly knocked the meteor bullet away. The violent salamander directly burst out a destructive death light to offset the meteor bullet. The solid rocks in front of Bangala suddenly stood up to offset the meteor bullet. The Parasaurolophus used the explosive fist, although it also repelled the meteor bullet, but its body retreated a lot. Zahu was also surprised. The Sky Dragon Meteor. The scaled dragon actually learned a new trick at this time, and the power was extraordinary. To be honest, although the Dragon Meteor is a dragon type ultimate move, Zahu doesn't think much of it, because after the Dragon Meteor explodes, the energy is dispersed and not concentrated. It is very suitable for group fights, but it is not enough for single fights. Moreover, after using it, it will reduce the special attack, and its practicality is not as good as the Dragon God Dive. Fortunately, the scaled armored dragon is good at fighting, and the reduction of special attack is not very harmful. Seeing the shocking effect caused by his attack, the scaled armored dragon's eyes revealed a little joy. This feeling is really good. With a clenched fist, the powerful dragon type power filled the scaled armored dragon's body, and the scaled armored dragon looked around with a little pride. Seeing the little joy in the scaled armored dragon's eyes, Yandy opened his eyes, glanced at it indifferently, opened his mouth, and sent a big word explosion directly to it. The flames were blazing, the scaled dragon's eyes were serious, and the golden light flashed in its mouth. The Sky Dragon Meteor burst out and shot towards the flames, but they collided with each other, and there was no stalemate, and they were swallowed up. Then the big word explosion hit the scaled dragon, and the scaled dragon's body was instantly charred and retreated. Entei looked at the scaled dragon with a sidelong look, and said, "Little guy, are you jumping again?" The scaled dragon immediately showed a hint of flattery in his eyes. "No, you are bigger." Entei then lay down again with satisfaction, but secretly thought in his heart that the power of this little dragon was growing a little too fast. Fortunately, I secretly added the power of the holy fire, otherwise the big word explosion might not have been so easy to eat. Lord Fenghuang asked me to follow this trainer, but the Pokémon in this team are too much, one more outrageous than the other. Let's not talk about the old ones, they can almost fight with Lord Fenghuang, and the little ones are now grown up. After a while, can I still beat this kid? I still have to talk to Zahu to see if there is any way to improve my strength. Zahu noticed the subtle communication between Scale, Armored Dragon and Entei, and couldn't help but smile and said, "Okay, the training ends here for now. Take a break first, and continue training later." Hearing Zahu say to stop training, Scale Armored Dragon breathed a sigh of relief, and the whole dragon lay down directly. Dream, who had been floating on the side to exert gravity, also floated towards Zahu, swinging her tail to act cute. "Good boy, thank you for your hard work. When you go back, I will give you fresh milk and massage." Zahu touched Dream's little head. Meow Dream shook its tail excitedly. Although it was kidnapped by Kona, in its heart, Zahu is still the most important to it. After all, if it weren't for Zahu, it would not have the opportunity to become a real Pokémon. Zahu took out a bottle of potion from his pocket and fed it to Scale Armored Dragon. "This is the potion I made specifically for your training. It can restore your body to the greatest extent. Your training these days will not be easy. Be prepared." Scale Armored Dragon nodded firmly. "I'm ready." Also, Parasaurolophus, wait a minute, I will also arrange a special training plan for you. This kind of gravity training will also be good for you. Zahu looked at Parasaurolophus and smiled. After the metal monster left, Parasaurolophus's strength fell to the bottom of the team. Originally, it had heart scale treasure to cushion it, but after heart scale treasure evolved into scaled dragon, Parasaurolophus was truly at the bottom, so it has been working hard to train itself to become stronger. Zahu knows all this. The difficulty of blocking the Sky Dragon meteor just now will be more exciting. As the trainer of Parasaurolophus, he must do something. Dowly Parasaurolophus' eyes lit up, his eyes completely narrowed, and he happily rubbed his head against Zahu. Seeing this scene, the violent salamander on the side couldn't help but feel jealous. He twisted his huge body, and a huge head drilled directly in, rubbing against Zahu, strongly requesting that Rain and you be shared equally. Parasaurolophus looked at the violent salamander, his expression slightly darkened. Before he evolved, you competed with me for favor. Now that you have evolved, you still come. You are already so big. Can you look at your size? The violent salamander ignored him and showed a silly expression. Even if it evolved, it still wanted to compete for favor. Only children who know how to act like a spoiled child can get milk. Zahu was amused by the performance of these guys and looked at Entei and the others. You are not going to come too, are you? Entei buried his head in his forelimbs, indicating that he was too lazy to deal with Zahu. Bangalor's attitude was even worse, and he ignored Zahu completely. Lucario didn't mind. When he was a child, he also got into Zahu's arms. Now he misses it a little. However, after evolution, as a representative of aloofness, it will not collapse in front of so many Pokémon. It closed its eyes and pretended to sleep and secretly practiced Wava Guide and sensed the surroundings. Among all the Pokémon of Zahu, Lucario is not the strongest, but it is definitely the most hard-working one. First, it is nature, and second, Zyos's Lucario is stronger than it. Lucario sensed someone approaching through the Wava Guide. He frowned, but when he found out it was Zyos he and his friends, he relaxed his brows and continued to pretend to sleep and rest. Chapter 498, Field Training. Brother, what are you doing here? Zyos, who ran out of the path, looked curiously at Zahu, who was surrounded by a group of Pokémon. Training. What about you? What is the class today? Zahu looked at Zyos and the other four and said, Drive your manner. She asked us to go to the mountains to study some wild Pokémon, then write a survey report, and then give the teachers a score. Later, Zyos suddenly showed a bit of depression on his face. What's the matter? Writing a survey report, getting close to wild Pokémon, and playing with Pokémon, isn't it your favorite? Zahu asked curiously. Yes, but Zyomeo is one of the teachers who gives the score. Zyos looked resentful and looked at Zahu and said, Brother, can I also be a teacher instead of a student? What are you thinking? If you are a teacher, what will you teach them? Reckless? No matter how big the difficulty is, just use your head to hit it, and it will be fine. Zahu looked at Zyos with a suspicious face and said, Guard, training with Pokémon. And I'm an assistant. Just like Zyomeo and the others. Why can Zyomeo and Alan do it, but I can't? Zyos said aggrievedly. Because Alan is the real assistant of Dr. Blatano, she is experienced in being an assistant, and is better than Zyrogian. Although Zyomeo did not study with a teacher, he studied with Dr. Yamanashi for a period of time, after coming to SYNOPSIS. And you, my good brother, when have you ever helped me with research? At this point, Zahu stared at Zyos with a bad look. Although he understood Zyos' playful personality, and that he was destined to have no chance to study such delicate things, he was just venting his anger, since he had calculated it with himself. Zyos was dumbfounded and scratched his head. It seemed that he had never done that before. He felt that his brother's research was too boring. It was better to play with the fairy elves. Zyos thought hard, trying to find his own contribution, and suddenly his eyes lit up and he said, Yes, I helped you pluck the hair of Blue King, and then Blue King chased me for an afternoon. My pants were bitten. Zahu was reminded of what happened by Zyos. That day, Kajiro was studying the evolution of Merilao, and Meowth had been bitten by Blue King the day before, and even the hair on his tail was gone, so Zyos was drafted in. After giving him pocket money for half a month, Zyozzy took the bait and touched Blue King's butt. Later, he almost gave his butt to Blue King. Fortunately, it was Zyozzy. If other people were bitten like that, they would have to stay in the hospital for at least 10 days and half a month. Thinking of this, Zahu felt that he was really a little sorry for Zyozzy. His honor as a doctor was partly due to Zyozzy, although he never provided any intellectual support for his research, and even did not dare to let him do simple calculations. In many cases, the collection of a lot of data was earned by Zyozzy with blood and sweat. Of course, it was not just Zyozzy, but also Kajero and Meowth. After all, both of them and Meowth were immortal. If you don't use them well, you will really be sorry for them. Thinking of this, Zahu's attitude slowed down a little, patted Zyozzy on the shoulder, and said earnestly, academic research is very tiring. If you don't want to be a student and insist on being an assistant, I can only arrange a cleaning job for you. At that time, you won't be able to study with Zyuksha, Zyagwang, and Zyugang. You can only watch them grow up while you clean. Is that okay? Zyozzy was dumbfounded. Of course, this is not good. So, study hard and work hard to improve yourself. Next time, if there is a chance, I will let you be my assistant. Zahu said. Oh, then next time, I'll be the assistant and Zyomeo will be the student. Zyozzy said. Yeah. Zahu promised again and again. Let's talk about it next time. I don't know when the next time will be. Pika at this time, Pikachu suddenly called out, and a weak electric current was emitted from his body. Rotom next to him immediately accepted it all, showing a happy expression, and rubbing against Pikachu. Pikachu had a helpless and doting expression. Zahu's eyes were immediately attracted, and his expression was strange. What's going on? Rotom, why is it here? And it and Pikachu? It seems that after the haunted night, this child has liked Pikachu, and has been following Pikachu. Zyuksha explained. Like Pikachu? Zahu's expression was stunned. Rotom has no gender, right? Moreover, Rotom and Pikachu are not in the same egg group. They are cross-species and cross-gender. It's really outrageous that true love is so serious. No, it's not love. I didn't smell the sweet fragrance. It's just friendship. Zyanagang said seriously. Friendship? I thought Pikachu's charm has reached a new level. Zahu said with a smile. Although he still didn't know what Zyanagan's sweet fragrance was based on, he was convinced by Zyanagan's judgment in this regard. Although it was a bit far-fetched for a person who was planning to get married to listen to the judgment of a single dog who had never been in love. In fact, he had to accept it. Pikachu, my best friend, Lotto. Rotom also said at the right time. Best friends can provide you with sufficient electricity and make you happy to eat, Zahu said with a smile. He didn't expect that asking Rotom to scare people would scare out a pair of friends. That's one aspect, and on the other hand, I like Pikachu. Lotto. Rotom said. Friendship likes, and the electric type is indeed a good match. Zahu showed a thoughtful expression. Rotom liked Pikachu so much, and it seemed a little immoral for him to stop them from separating. Moreover, it seemed better for Rotom to follow Zyozzy than to follow himself. Rotom's greatest value lies in its ability to translate Pokemon's words, allowing humans and Pokemon to communicate and move freely, providing knowledge, but this seems to be impossible for me. I and Meowth can do translation, and as for knowledge, what Rotom can find, the phone can also find. And if I follow Zyozzy, I can just collect the most complete information about the mythical beasts for me. I'm not Zyozzy, I don't have the powerful ability to encounter mythical beasts everywhere I go. I haven't seen Honjarachi and Deoxys, but if I follow Zyozzy, I can collect all the information about the mythical beasts. At least the accurate height, weight, and characteristics can be collected completely. Zahu looked at Zyozzy and thought for a while. Do you want to send one? This is a serious question. Brother Zahu, are there any special Pokemon nearby that are suitable for us to investigate and study? Zyugang suddenly asked. Are there any Pokemon nearby? Look for them on the hill to the left. I remember there are a few shock deer there that are suitable for your research. Zahu thought for a moment. When he came here, he learned about the general situation of the Pokemon nearby. Oh, then we'll go first. Goodbye, Brother Zahu. Zyugang said. Goodbye. Zehu waved his hand and looked at Rotom, who followed Zyozzy away. He felt that he didn't need to think about it anymore. He smiled and shook his head, too lazy to think about it anymore, and continued to focus on the training of Scaled Dragon. Chapter 499, Entrance to the Spirit World. Scales in front of the hillside. The armored dragon frequently punched at an incredible speed, sweating, and a strange and terrifying power accumulated and climbed in its body. The dragon's tail suddenly swung and hit the ground, and a long gully suddenly cracked on the ground. Zehu stood by and nodded slightly, expressing his approval. The growth of the armored dragon exceeded his imagination. In just a few days, its strength has grown sufficiently. If it can maintain this momentum, it will be able to break into the king level within a month, and it may break into the king level within 3 months. I just don't know when Arceus will wake up. Boom! The armored dragon's mouth flashed with golden light, and a golden energy ball burst out of its mouth. After rising to the sky, it suddenly exploded, and a large number of meteors fell to the ground, with continuous explosions. One of the energy bombs fell towards a small hillside next to it. Zehu frowned immediately. If he remembered correctly, that was exactly where the ruins were. Don't let the armored dragon's energy bomb explode into anything. The scaled armored dragon seemed to realize that he had done something wrong. He suddenly lost the joy of his improved strength. He hunched his body and stood stiffly. If you make a mistake, you must admit it, and if you are beaten, you must stand up straight. This is the experience taught by the senior salamander. The scaled armored dragon knew that it was okay to make a mistake, as long as it was not too big, and he admitted it with a good attitude. Zehu would not do anything to him, at most scolding him a few times, but if he did not admit it, that would be a big deal. Zehu rolled his eyes at the scaled armored dragon in annoyance, and it was not easy to say anything to it. He strode towards the direction of the ruins, to see what the ruins were like first. If nothing happened, it would be fine. If there was a big trouble, it would be really troublesome. Zehu prayed secretly that the ruins themselves were not of much academic value and should not cause any major harm. Taking 2 steps at a time, Zehu and the scaled armored dragon quickly climbed over the hill and came to the ruins next to them. They saw a brand new small earth pit with a broken stone pillar pressing down on it. The traces were fresh, which was obviously the masterpiece of the Xianlang meteor just now. Seeing this, Zehu couldn't help but glared at the scaled dragon and said, "In the future, you are not allowed to use the dragon meteor without my permission." The scaled dragon nodded his head to show that he would obey the command. Fortunately, this relic is not a particularly valuable relic. Not many people are studying it. Even if compensation is required, it won't be much. Zehu looked around and said thoughtfully. Hearing that he didn't have to pay much, the scaled dragon was relieved. If he had to pay a lot of money, the master would not beat me, but the cat boss would punish me. After relaxing, the scaled dragon keenly found that something was wrong around him. He stood nervously in front of Zehu, looking at a hidden cave in the mountain wall in front of him. Zehu looked over and felt a little uneasy from the cave. What kind of relic is this? I feel very uncomfortable. The scaled dragon asked Zehu. I don't know either. I'll go back and check the information. Zehu said. Well, the things here are not good. The scaled dragon said seriously. Okay, you come back first. Zehu took the scaled dragon back into the Pokeball, returned to school, and asked the researchers at the Yamanashi Institute. In the data network, enter the name of the mountain, and then narrow down the scope to collect information about the ruins. Buterono ruins. Zehu looked at the information on the computer and frowned. Buterono is a transliteration of the super ancient language. In modern terms, it means the gates to the spirit world. Spirit world? Zehu's face became more and more serious. There are really ghosts in this world. The ghost of Maiden Gorge that appeared with Millennium Ghastly in the original version is the most famous ghost in the Pokémon world. If there are ghosts, there is naturally a spirit world. Although no one has confirmed whether this world exists or not, there is no definite information about the spirit world. But uncertainty does not mean that it does not exist. Just like the world where Arceus, Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina live, the League does not have particularly definite information now, especially the world where Arceus is sleeping now. not to mention the ultimate different dimension that has been confirmed to exist in the Alola region. And if the hole just now is really the entrance to the spirit world, then the problem is very big. After carefully sorting out these materials several times, there is still no definite solution. Zahu frowned more and more tightly and hurriedly got up, turned off the computer, and went to find Dr. Yamanashi to discuss. If it is really the entrance to the spirit world, the matter will be serious. Walking out of the room, looking for Dr. Yamanashi, halfway through, Zahu suddenly found something wrong. So quiet, the whole school was so quiet. Zahu vaguely felt that something was wrong and suddenly remembered that today's class arrangement was to let students go to the back mountain to contact those ghost Pokémon, get used to getting along with ghost Pokémon, and exercise their courage. He quickly picked up the phone and called Kenji and said, "Kenji, has anything strange happened there?" "Yes, I just called you. There is one more member of the blue team." Kenji replied. "One more person? What's the situation?" Zahu was shocked. "This time we are training students to get along with ghost Pokémon and let them go up the mountain in pairs. We have an even number of students, so there shouldn't be any left over, but one student came late and is still here, while 10 people have already set out." Kenji tried to make his voice calm, but he couldn't suppress the horror in his tone. "One more person?" Zahu's face became even uglier. "Don't tell me that something dirty really ran out of there. Go up the mountain immediately and call all the students back to school. Stop today's classes," Zahu said in an urgent tone. "Okay, I'll arrange it right away and call all the students back," Kenji said. Zahu hung up the phone with Kenji and then immediately called Dr. Yamanashi and told him what happened here. Dr. Yamanashi, who answered the phone, looked even uglier. He came out of the office and discussed this matter with Zahu. When they reached the school grounds, the students who had left came back one after another. Zahu and Dr. Yamanashi looked much better. When they asked about what happened on the mountain, the students talked about encountering many scary ghost Pokémon on the mountain. Zahu frowned. These were not what he wanted to hear. "Brother Zahu, I saw a night dark demon on the mountain seducing Kaoping and almost made Kaoping fall off the cliff," Xiaoguang said. Thinking of Kaoping almost falling off the cliff and dying, Xiaoguang was still frightened. In a hurry, he even forgot to call the teacher. "Night dark demon, there are no wild Pokémon on this mountain." Dr. Yamanashi frowned and looked at Zahu with some inquiry in his eyes, wondering if it came from that side. It shouldn't be. Although the antenna on the head of the night dark demon can receive signals from the spirit world, there are also legends that a few special night dark demons can take people and Pokémon to the spirit world. However, according to the actual data from various places, the night dark demon will not take away living humans and Pokémon, but only take away souls that have nowhere to go. If someone really attacked Kaoping, it should not be done by the night dark demon, Zahu said. The few night dark demons who have the ability to travel between the natural world and the spirit world are equivalent to the ox-headed and horse-faced demons in the previous life. They only catch lonely ghosts, not people. "Wait a minute, where is Xiaozi?" Kona suddenly asked in surprise after scanning everyone. "Xiaozi?" Zahu was startled and looked at everyone. He found that Xiaozi and Xiaoki, a classmate Xiaozi had just met, were not there. He cursed inwardly. "Damn it, wherever there is trouble, Xiaozi is there. Where is the end point this time?" Zahu asked. "It's the ruins on the top of the mountain. The medal is inside. Get the medal and come back, and you will complete the mission," Kenji said. "Damn it. All students stay here and don't move. Xiaomeo, Ailan, follow me," Zahu said. After that, Zahu ran up the mountain, followed by Xiaomeo and Ailan. Xiaoxia, Xiaogang, and Xiaoguang followed without hesitation. "Xiaoxia, you three go back first. I'll bring Xiaozi back," Zahu said. "No, that kid is my problem. I have to go and take a look," Xiaoxia said. Zahu glanced at Xiaoxia, and without saying anything more, he quickly ran up the mountain. Chapter 500, Dark Demon of the Night. Zahu and his companions quickly ran towards the ruins on the top of the mountain. When they reached the mountainside, a fierce phantom beam suddenly shot from the right and hit Zahu and his companions. A violent explosion occurred, and earth and rocks splashed. Zahu and his companions quickly blocked it with their hands. After the wind and smoke dissipated, a night dark demon appeared in front of them. The night dark demon's yellow eyes flashed with green light, and his hands blocked Zahu and his companions to drive them away. Night dark demon, my brother is up there. I want to go find him. And you are driving us away. You also know that it is dangerous here, right? Zahu said. The night dark demon's eyes flashed with light, as if conveying his meaning. Brother Zahu, what is he talking about? Xiaomeo asked curiously. I don't know either. Zahu's mouth twitched slightly. Brother Zahu, can't you understand the language of all Pokémon? Xiaomeo looked stunned. No, I can only understand the most common Pokémon language. The special ones are exceptions. Zahu said with a stiff expression. The Pokémon language he can understand is similar to Meowth. He can understand the language of most Pokémon in this world, but there are some that he can't understand. Zahu knows two kinds. One is the language of Ultra Beasts, which is the language of Pokémon in another world, and is not compatible with the Pokémon language of this world. The other is the language of alien creatures such as Deoxys, which is not the language of this planet, and cannot be understood. Zahu originally thought that there were only these two kinds, but now he has discovered the third one, the language of the spirit world. I can't understand it either. The dangerous thing now is the cave entrance in the ruins on the top of the mountain, right? Let's go up first. There will be danger inside. Zahu said. He could feel that this night dark demon had no ill will towards them. The attack just now was deliberately aimed at the open space in front of them, with no intention of hurting them. The night dark demon glanced at Zahu, and did not continue to attack, but floated towards the top of the mountain. Zahu and others hurriedly followed. When they ran to the top of the mountain, they saw a pale bloodless gloomy girl standing in front of the cave they had seen before. Her eyes were empty, and she just waved at Xiaozi and Xiaoki, saying, "Come here, come here." The night dark demon quickly moved, blocking Xiaozi, Xiaoki and the girl, staring at the girl with a fierce look, with ghost power surging in his body, ready to explode a shocking blow at any time. Xiaozi and Xiaoki's faces changed drastically. They didn't know the situation and just thought that the night dark demon was going to attack. They quickly commanded Pikachu and Cat Monster to attack the night dark demon to protect the girl who looked very weak. The night dark demon keenly realized that something was wrong. He quickly used an illusion light to press Pikachu and Cat Monster to the ground, unable to move, and then continued to look at the girl again, looking for an opportunity to attack. Xiaozi and Xiaoki saw this and were very anxious. They were about to go into battle themselves, but before they could do anything, they were hit hard on the back of their heads and fell to the ground. Are you two idiots? Can't you see that the night dark demon is protecting you? How dare you attack? You are taking my kindness for granted, or repaying kindness with hatred. Zahu scolded angrily. Brother, isn't this night dark demon going to attack that girl? It just attacked us. Xiaozi asked curiously. It attacks you because it wants to protect you and prevent you from coming here. As for that girl, she is the real danger. Zahu stared at the pale girl with no blood color. Under the moonlight, there was not even a shadow. How could she be a normal person? Come together. The girl kept waving her hands. Her voice was sinister, and the cave behind her suddenly flashed with purple light, and a strong suction force suddenly broke out, trying to absorb Xiaozi and Xiaoki. Xiaozi and Xiaoki couldn't bear it, and their bodies were pulled away, and were about to be sucked in. Zahu quickly swung the Pokeball and released Lugia. Xiaoluo, use your superpowers to protect Xiaozi and Xiaoki. Zahu said. Lugia flapped his wings, and Xiaozi, Xiaoki, Pikachu, and Xiaomo were blown to Zahu's side by the airflow. Come back. Seeing that the prey that was about to be caught had run away again, the girl's face became more angry, and her empty eyes became more murderous. The purple light behind her was more weird and powerful, and even Zahu felt like he was about to be sucked in. Xiaoluo, use mental power on that girl. Zahu's eyes were fierce. What about spiritual creatures? Aren't they just ghosts? People who have died, and most of them are ghosts without brains. What's so fierce about them? Lugia's eyes flashed green, and powerful mental power burst out, covering the girl ghost, and blasting the girl ghost into the cave. The girl ghost's empty eyes also burst out with a strange light, and a power close to the ghost system, but not completely the same burst out, resisting Lugia's superpowers. Lugia's expression was strange. He didn't expect that this girl actually had such power. Could she resist it? After resisting Lugia's wave of superpowers, the ghost girl seemed to feel that she was hurt, and let out a sharp roar. The attraction of the cave behind her became stronger, and the surrounding sand rolled in. The strong suction force even absorbed the ground. Xiaoluo, the opponent is not weak, use all your strength, Zahu said with a slightly focused look. Lugia nodded. Even if Zahu didn't say it, it would have done so. Although the power of the ghost girl was a little weird, it was just that. The power of the top beasts was never fake, especially the beasts with attributes such as Psychic and Ghost, which were even more powerful and weird. Lugia flapped his wings, and the powerful telekinesis rushed out like a tide, pressing towards the ghost girl. The strange power of the ghost girl burst out again, fighting against Lugia's superpower, but this time, she couldn't even resist, and was suppressed by Lugia's superpower, and pushed into the cave. At this time, the Night Dark Demon suddenly exerted his strength, shining with blow light, and cooperated with Lugia's superpower, to force the ghost girl in. The suction force became stronger and stronger, and the ghost girl flew in by herself. For the first time, she showed a fearful expression on her face, groaned, and was sent directly into the purple light of the cave. The Night Dark Demon's hands were shining, covering the entire cave, and runes appeared faintly. Then, there was a loud bang in the cave, rocks rolled down, and the cave entrance was directly closed. The cold and evil breath disappeared. Seeing this, the Night Dark Demon showed a comfortable smile on his face, turned around and waved to Zahu and others. His body floated high into the sky, and naturally disappeared in the dark night. It is unknown whether he went to the legendary spirit world. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.